2021. It is 6:02. We're called to order. We need to do the Pledge of the Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance
I pledge allegiance
to the
to
flag of the
of
United
the
States of
United
America,
States of America,
to the
to the
republic
republic
for which
which
it stands, one nation,
one
under
nation,
God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with
liberty and
liberty,
justice for all.
justice for all.
Okay. All right, roll call of directors. Director Garcia is absent. Director Gibson.
Aye. Here.
Director Kelly.
Here.
Director Nyman's here. Director Schoenberg.
Yes, here.
Okay, we have a quorum, 4, 0, 1 absent. Okay, discussion. Do we need to change the agenda at all? And if you're hearing noise, I apologize because my neighbor tends to drive me crazy with his truck.
Well, at least it's not the drums.
Yeah, that's on the weekend. Okay, so we can go ahead and get started. 3, are there any public comments?
Yes, there is.
Okay,
And this is just an announcement that Self-Help is providing board training for rural communities, folks, boards, staff, managers, interested parties. I know some of you folks may have attended that, but it's training. People are, it's free, and there's various dates. So I'll forward that to you folks if you're interested. I encourage folks to take advantage of it. Thank you.
okay.
Yeah,
And
that would be
and where
great.
is that?
Thank you, Dave.
It's on Zoom?
Zoom.
Okay.
When, Dave?
April 24th, May 8th, and 22nd, June 12th and 26th, July 10th, 24th, August 14th and 28th, and September 18th. And there's a stipend of up to $500 provided to all graduates.
Are those all the same or they're different trainings?
They're different trainings.
Okay.
It's 2 hours by Zoom.
Okay, so you're gonna send that out to us, that schedule.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, unfinished business. 4, discussion vote update on Fraser Park Lake of the Wood Consolidation Planning Project. Discussion, well, update on test wells. I know that we talked in the state meeting that we should be starting or beginning the test well end of April or beginning of May. Is there anything else that you want to bring up on that, Dee?
Yes, let me see. I'm not muted, right? You can hear me?
No, we can hear you.
It looks like it's going to be towards the end of May before Johnson is able to get on the project. I just learned that today.
The end of May?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so that's the best we can do. Let's hope the weather is good and we don't get a late winter.
Yes. Well, I don't know.
We've gotten snow in June before, so.
Wow.
Yeah, but I just got a letter from the state telling us to be ready for we're in another drought and to start conserving water again.
Yeah.
So
Okay. All right. B, discussion vote contract with Johnson Drilling. Where do we stand with that, D?
I had some conversations. I've had some conversations with Johnson Drilling over the last couple of days, and they're going to have everything notarized. There were about 2 or 3 forms that that needed to be notarized and signed, and I just, in the conversation I had today, they should be notarized tomorrow, and we should have them by Monday or Tuesday of next week. So we should have a whole package, and I'll send that out, and then I'll send it over to Alan as well.
Okay. All right, moving on to C, vote on engineering planning contract amendments. Now, what you gave us, Tiffany, is that? I
It's
did
the
have one.
it's the second one, the March one, not the February one.
Okay,
It's
so,
it's outside of the one that was in the binded section is older. The one that's outside of it is newer.
well, they didn't get those, only me and you got those. I haven't even reviewed that yet. But I did have one comment. I had asked in the original contract, number 43 to be removed. And I don't know why that wasn't removed, Dee, why it's still in the contract. And that's the one that says that the client agrees to limit consultants' liability to the client and to all contractors and subcontractors on the project due to professional negligence, acts, errors, or omissions of consultant to the sum of $50,000 or consultant fees, whichever is greater. We had talked about removing that from the contract. And I don't know why it's still in there.
Just, I wasn't trying to slip it by anybody. That's just an oversight on my part. So I'll make a note that that needs to be removed and send out a new version.
Okay.
That was paragraph what, Rama?
That was number 43
Okay,
in the in the general
general conditions.
yes.
And this new one, D, still doesn't have the further breakout that we had talked about.
Say again, Lisa, I didn't,
The new March 19th amendment still doesn't have what we talked about in the state ad hoc.
and that being,
Oh my God.
Further breakout of some items.
of the what, Lisa?
A further breakout of a few items.
I've broken out everything I thought needed to be broken out, but there's something more, let me know.
Where?
The memorandum, March 19th, additional support information planning study. And I broke out the hydrogeology, broke out the hydrogeology report.
In the front, in the cover page, because I don't see that it, I mean, you talk about all the different things that changed, but I don't see that you included any of that.
Well, I broke out the hydrogeology report into principal engineer, senior engineer 1, senior engineer 2, draft preliminary engineering report. There was no change in that. I added a little bit more description there. Final preliminary engineering report. Then I
So there's going to be no additional charge that you have in engineering for the MSR or the MOU?
oh, I didn't include that, Lisa, because I haven't. There were two reasons. One is I wanted to get this kind of okayed by you guys so that we put that to bed. And then the MOU, I'm not quite sure what to include on that. In the MSR,
But
I did put together a preliminary estimate, but I need to get an estimate from Ken Schmidt as to the update of his report. And I sent that information off a couple of days ago, and I'm waiting for him to respond to that.
But is that going to add somewhere to engineering in this contract?
It will definitely add, and
Okay.
yes, and do we want to, you know, I just wasn't clear as to how we needed to do that, that's all.
I think it has to be in the contract too. Otherwise, where is that money coming from? Because we're talking about the engineering is separate from the other parts of the MOU and the MSR that are being paid to legal or being paid to, you know, so it wouldn't that be part of your contract?
It would be, I thought Lauren said that he could, maybe I'm not thinking correctly, or I don't remember what he said, but I thought that he was going to try to find some additional funding for that. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but that's kind of what my thinking was. But I can include it in there, you know, no problem. It'll just be another line item. And I can do that for the MOU too, except I'm not quite sure what I need to do with respect to the MOU.
Because we don't have a quote back from what, Bravish yet.
Not anything from Ravish yet.
That's not for the MOU though,
Yeah,
Dirk, and I,
that's
for the MSR.
That's for the MSR, I know.
Have an
Okay.
idea of how much time you're anticipating spending, right? Or you don't. And if you don't, I mean, I think that that needs to be part of this contract. Like, I don't think we can approve this contract without having that. That's just me. I mean, maybe I'm not correct there, but it adds to the engineering. So it's even, you know, additional engineering. I'm not willing to count on extra money that's going to be provided by the state. I'd like to see the breakdown that you anticipate that that's going to cost.
I think the reason is that it was never included in the original budget, but certainly we can include it. We can certainly include it. That's an additional line item in the budget that we prepared back in 2015. We did have some money in there for the MOU, and I think we took that out. But we can put it back in. Anyway, I'm just a little bit unclear as to exactly how to do all that, but so I can.
So that's not covered under your admin monies.
No.
Well, isn't there two issues? I mean, isn't it that it has to be included in the contract and then we have to approach Lawrence and get approval to add those line items? Because I think he wanted more information as to the cost on that. And then we still have to go and do a letter to them saying, hey, this is, you know, what we're asking for to
The
move
line
money.
item we're adding wouldn't, I mean, yes, they're going to get added, but the part for D needs to be in this because, you know, when we add that, it's not money that's, you know, it's money that's going to another company like Stan Hoffman and Associates or to the lawyers. It's not, the engineering needs to be in the engineering.
Right. No, I agree. Because we'll have a separate contract with Stan Hoffman and Associates. But we do need to have the cost for D, what you're going to be working on, whatever those costs will be.
And I'm preparing those. Again, I need to get Ken Schmidt's input, and then I'll have the numbers all put together. And then what I had planned to do was submit that that particular item for approval before inserting it into the contract. And make sure you guys are okay with all of that, and then we'll pull it out of the contingencies and make another line item, and then we'll put in some time for the MOU, except I'm not quite sure, I can just put some time in for that, but I'm not sure what my role is in the MOU.
It's mostly the lawyer, our attorney.
Mhm.
I mean, you may have some role in, I mean,
Some-
I
Some input.
yeah, I think, you were saying you had some input that you were putting in regard to drought, or, what our needs would be, like what our understanding is for what contingencies, there's no contingencies written into it currently. It's just talks about, just like we need contingencies in the MSR, there are really no contingencies in the MOU. It just talks about what we're doing with the assets and stuff, but it's not really talking about what our understanding is of what we're supplying and it to any detail. So I think that part is you. The actual, assets and all that, and just to make sure it's correct, would all be the attorney, which is a chunk of it. It's it's a pretty lengthy document already, but reading through it, I didn't see anything, really primarily assets.
Well, I can probably and the document you're referring to is a draft MOU, Lisa?
The draft MOU for Lake of the Woods. Yeah, the other MOUs I haven't seen. I never saw the individual MOUs that were written for each individual land. First, we supposedly have that. I've never. Those aren't attached to the MOU that I got. The MOU I got is only for Lake of the Woods.
Yeah, I think we stopped at some point there and didn't write those. It was going to be kind of a form letter, I think, for all the prospective new connections. And that was going to be, I think, somewhat of a general letter, and that we didn't. I don't recall moving ahead with that at all.
But I'm not sure if a general letter is enough for somebody like Connor. I think that needs to be very spelled out, like what we're not doing.
Well, Connor's not joining us.
We still talked about putting a something in front of the, a connection. I know he's not joining in the annexation, but
But he's not going to sign a MOU.
I don't know. I think we do need him to sign a memorandum of understanding of what he's not yet, because I think he's going to come to us later on and say, you said this.
Yeah, but I don't think he can, because he's already told the state as well as us and self-help and everybody else that he's not joining. So it's very well known and that he's adamant about not joining. And I doubt he's I doubt seriously if he's going to sign anything for us. He's not that type of guy.
Okay.
We could draw something up and write on it, refuse to sign. But
yeah, I just would like to see us have something in regard to, because we've gone round and round and round with that, and I'd like to see that there's something that he's seen that's in writing that says he is not a part of because he was not willing to be a part of. So
well, I think the original letter that he refused, that Dave at Self-Help has, states that he does not want to be part of the district. And we have minutes from when he came to our meeting.
Yeah.
Dave, we can't hear you.
But originally he did sign, he wanted to participate, but Yeah, everything's since then has been negative. But you can have the document available saying,
You
you can
muted
have the
yourself.
document available saying, here are the conditions.
Yeah, I'll be happy to take it out to him and see if he'll sign it. And then, like I said, we could always write on there, refuse to sign, and then I would sign it stating that he refused to sign the thing.
That would be something that Alan would prepare.
Yeah,
Wondering if maybe a simple letter would just, detailing that we have offered and he has refused. And our understanding is that he is still refusing. There's better words to use than that. But something to the effect that, puts him on record that we have been down this road and we understand that he does not want to be part of the district. And we're just acknowledging that fact. And then sending it or delivering it to him, and rather than writing up an MOU, which I kind of think might be a little bit lengthy to do something like that specifically for him.
should I ask Alan to draft a letter?
I think that would be appropriate. That'd be my suggestion.
I think we need to talk about it before you go to Alan to ask him to draft it. So I think we as a board need to put it on the agenda and just make sure that we have, that we're all of the same understanding, and then have, or vice versa, or have it. I guess you could explain it to Alan, and then we could look over what he's drafted and make sure that it's including what we need.
All right, well, let me know what you want.
And then
Why does it have to be done before the MOUs are done? Shouldn't it be done at the same time?
Yeah.
I'll review the draft MOU and see and put together what I think my participation would be in that overall MOU for Lake of the Woods, and then put something together on that.
And Dee,
Yes.
I'm sorry, maybe I'm crazy, but I see nowhere in this one dated March what we talked about in the state meeting, which was that, you're saying like, oh, I see, principal, you just have, okay, never mind. I do see something here. I missed it. I missed a couple pages.
So, because I don't think we're ready to approve this tonight.
And that's fine. It's heck, I just sent it out not too long ago, 3 days ago. So you really haven't had a chance to go over it, but it's out there, and we're not going to start our test wells for a while yet. So we have time to go through it, and then to add in the MSR, the work on the MSR, and then I'll assume that the work with Stanley Hoffman will be under separate contract between Hoffman and the district, so I don't have to be involved in that part of that. That won't be part of my work, and then I'll try to get a handle on this, what I need to do, what I proceed to do for the draft MOU for the Lake of the Woods, and put that together as well.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, D, discussion vote on project budget adjustment and requests. So Where do we stand, Dave? I think I'm a little confused because I see some of this on his contract, but I don't know that we got approval from Lawrence.
On what, direction I'm in?
Well, project budget adjustment and request, because when we had our meeting, we didn't come to a conclusion on what he,
There's two separate things. So there's the stuff. Okay. So everything in this contract is only D's engineering and then also, I guess, well, it includes Ken Schmidt.
right,
So-
but it all got muddied in the discussion of, because he's increasing his engineering budget to 44,050, and there was
Includes the, none of that includes the stuff that I keep saying, which is the MSR, the portion that we're going to be paying Stan Hoffman. None of it includes the portion that we're paying in addition for our legal fees. None of it includes the pretty.
Well, I understand that, Director Schoenberg, but it also, but Lawrence did not approve because we didn't have clarification on the admin. Like the admin was, what that admin was, an increase of 24,420.
He previously approved that. The 24,000 he previously approved. Not this state meeting, the state meeting before. So he had already approved the 24,000 and he had already approved the other one.
What, 2480 for hydrological?
Yeah, he had approved some of that in the previous meeting. And then as far as I understood, he just wanted more of a breakout. So he wanted, which D has on the pages where he says, hydrogeology, and then he says how much is the senior hydrogeologist, the associate hydrogeologist, and the senior engineer for DJAS associate. So that's what Lawrence wanted, which appears to be in here.
Okay, so that was the okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, did you want me to, I found that email, Tiffany had sent an email requesting, these budget items be adjusted. And he said he approved the proposed budget request change with 78,106 moved to the test well, from the test well task to the contingency. Also an added subline item for engineering, admin, and oversight for the test well drilling of $24,420. I'll forward the email. It came along with the budget request. So would you like me to send that to you folks?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, you just said increase it by the contingency by 78,000, because D's got on his letter 79,350.
Right. And so this budget was modified based on this approval. And I know that D's going forward with some changes on his, based on his contract. So I know that's still in negotiation with you folks and D. So the discussion vote on project budget adjustment and request, it's sort of it's there as a catch-all, but you don't have the MSR approved, the proposal. You don't have the contract signed or agreed upon. But it's there as a catch-all just in case you did get those documents and were able to approve it. That's what I see it as an agenda item for.
Yeah, well, okay. I just feel like I know Director Schoenberg wanted to do one contract and with D and get it done. And the question is, are we going to be able to get all this information of what D's going to need for like the MOU and MSR that he needs in his contract so that he doesn't have to do another amendment? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, he's already spent time on it, and you'd want those charges that he does have spent time on it to be compensated. So, I mean,
Right, but also what his future involvement in that would be, because we don't have a line item for engineering for costs for him, and that would be something that we need in the contract, and then we're gonna have to go and ask, because we're gonna ask for a line item of MSR, and part of that will be a breakdown of, this is Stan Hoffman Associates, and this is engineering costs
Right, and
associated with that.
D, I think that we can do a separate contract with Stan Hoffman if that's easier. It's just that we just need your portion of the engineering for what you think you're going to need.
And that we do that as a separate contract, Lisa, is that what you're?
Well, no, we would add it into this contract amendment.
But the Stan Hoffman portion, the portion we're paying to Stan Hoffman could be separate.
Separate, because we would do a separate contract with Stan Hoffman and Associates.
Yes.
Same with the MOU. We just need an idea of what you think you might be needing in reviewing, like some of the issues that might come up with that. Most of that money is going to be a completely separate line item from your contract that's going to be for legal. And the same with the annexation. It needs to be in there too, because we're getting billed for annexation stuff, but it's not really part of this, it's not really in your engineering portion, right?
Right.
So, but we've already gotten bills for it. So where's that coming from? So that's what I'm saying. Like, those things are missing on your engineering contract.
Well, aren't we contracting the legal? I mean, we'll be paying directly for the legal.
Yes, but we need his portion of all of those things on this engineering, because they don't.
Right, his breakdown of his engineering costs, dealing with the lawyer, dealing with the meetings.
Because everything else is separate. The other stuff gets paid directly to LAFCO, like the TA funding we have. That doesn't get paid to D. It doesn't cover D. It covers.
I realize that, Director Schoenberg. I'm just trying to be
The
clear.
other directors, I'm saying this because they may not realize it.
Okay.
I know you've been in all the state meetings, but they haven't. So, and we haven't really covered that with them. So they may not understand what I'm talking about when I'm saying, like when we have a line item on the budget for the entire project, we need to have line items for people like Stan Hoffman. We need to have line items for LAFCO. We need to have, but we separately from that need D's portion of the engineering, because we're not, like the TA funds are covering some portion of the annexation, but they're not covering, like I said, D at all.
Yeah. So just to make it a little easier, on our contract with the state, we did not have a line item for the MSR, and we did not have a line item for the MOU, which is legal stuff, and
Or
the engineering. And so what we're trying to do in all this is that we need D to give us his costs so that he can put it in the contract that we have, that when we go to the state to ask them to take money from the contingency and create a line item, that we have engineering costs covered, and then we have a line item for Stanley Hoffman and for legal, and then of course we would do the contracts directly with them so that they could get paid. And we're trying to account for D's costs, because we're going to continue to get bills, and then there's no place, and it has to be in the contract in order for the state to pay them.
right.
Did I explain that correctly, Dave?
yes.
Yeah, and even stuff like the SOI that he's working on, that needs to be all done theoretically before we move to the construction phase. Like all of this stuff, like the annexation, all this stuff needs to be like really done before construction. Although Lauren said there were some things we could slide into construction, but there's if we run out of money, but it's like I just see us having a lot of things that we're not including in here. And yeah, it's great if we keep piecemeal pulling stuff from contingency over and over again, but I'm not really okay with that because I think we're going to run into problems. And
Well,
that's what I keep bringing up, or trying to bring up, but
well, you're still waiting on the MSR costs, and we've been waiting on that since January.
Right. So that's got to be a priority for D to get, his discussion with Ravish and get that what that cost is going to be, along with his costs, so that we can also add it to this contract, D's cost to this contract amendment.
right, D. So your costs, you're still dealing with the SOI, you're still dealing with the annexation map, you're still dealing with those are not going to go under necessarily a line item for MSR necessarily, because they're really part of our contract with you for engineering. And then the MSR's part is what, is the final report that's going to come from Stan Hoffman and Associates.
Yeah, just trying to get it straight here.
We had a lot of that broken out and paid for in the pre-planning, but we lost that money. There's nothing, that other than we didn't lose the 16,000 that self-help has set aside, but none of that includes engineering. That's not engineering costs, except for maybe 2,200 of it might be able to be used for that, correct? But the rest of it needs to be used for other stuff.
Okay, with respect to the MSR in the sphere of influence, where do you want me to put that? Those costs right there, the engineering costs that are, I know we've gone over this 2 or 3 times, but
I think they need to be in. I think they need to be in your breakdown, so you need to account for them because we're getting billed for them. We keep, we're getting bills, so they need to be somewhere in here so that we set aside money for that, so that we have an estimate of what you think that that's going to cost, so that we can cover it. So your engineering portion of the MSR, your engineering portion of, which is probably going to be very small of the MOU, but it's just going to be some consultation on probably, things we need to make sure, especially, anything we need to put in there. I'm not sure, because right now it's mostly attorney legalese about assets of Lake of the Woods, but it doesn't include any kind of contingency of, the what we need to be able to supply to them or anything like that. And then the annexation, the same thing. I mean, you've put in some hours, which we've been billed for talking to LAFCO, but there's nothing there's no line item to cover that. So where is that coming from when we're paying it? Is it coming from Fraser Park? Because how does it get approved that it's coming from, and like, where is it in your engineering costs? That's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like at some point there's going to be a problem because Lawrence is going to say, like, we're going to, like, how are we submitting those bills? Like, where are they going? How are they being submitted? What line?
Okay, well, I think that's clear. really what I'll do is I will, there are really 3 line items, I think, that need then, to be added. And that would be for the MSR's sphere of influence. They're really tied together, and that there is pretty much, involving answering Ravish, bringing that information current with respect to the district, and that, and then adding what may be and looking at what may be the additional lands that we're going to add in the sphere of influence, and how we're going to supply those if they ever come in. And that would be sort of the contingency side of the same report. And then, so that's a line item. And then on the MOU, again, that'll be another line item, and that will be having to do, once I review the MOU with Lake of the Woods, and I probably have a conversation with Alan as to, what needs to be, what he sees needs to be added to this from an engineering standpoint. Then that will be a separate line item. And then on the annexation, that's really kind of tied in with the sphere of influence, but not. But those things we can add, the projected cost of changing the map and adding the Mormon church to the annexation. And I think there might have been 1 or 2 other properties that we were thinking, and those would be on that line item that would be specifically addressing the annexation. That's kind of the way I see it.
And would there still be a line item added for inspection?
For what?
Would there be a line item added for inspection?
There's no inspection involved at this point in time. What will be done, inspection, when we get into construction of the system, what will be involved will be, that'll be part of the construction cost, the cost of construction. But really what we're doing now, test wells aren't inspected. We observe what is going on and make recommendations based on what's found. But we're not inspecting anything. We're observing.
Can I say something? Okay, Dave, I think what you're talking about, because he has in his this other contract, which you probably don't have a copy of that. I don't know if he copied you on that.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, because his breaking out was, he was showing in his contract the breakdown from the hydrologist of what the cost for the hydrologist, and then he put in a line for engineering, showing of that one line item where he increased it to 32 or whatever it was, 32,480. He shows $8,280 for engineering. And that's the engineering inspection costs, or where we'd be billing to that. So, because I'm getting stuck a little bit, because we have to have.
I just missed a bunch. My phone, I thought it was charging and there's something wrong with my electrical plug, and it just died.
Okay, we're still in okay. Oh, Lord. What I'm a little frustrated, because I feel like we're trying to do too many things at once.
I agree.
So the clarity that I'm trying to get in this contract and what we're saying, because what's going to be shown in the contract is, now is Stanley Hoffman stuff, that's not going to be shown in Dee's contract.
No, that's separate.
Okay. All right, Lisa, hold on. Okay, just don't. I'm trying to get clarity here, because I know Dee was just talking about, and you probably missed it, because he was talking about adding line items. But here's the thing, Dee, we have your contract. We need to have what's in your contract with us, which is your engineering costs that involve the annexation, the SOI, the MSR, the MOU. So all those, whatever costs that you're going to incur, that we're going to have to get a line item on the state contract, which we don't have yet. We have to have that in your contract with us, because that's the only way that the state is going to be able to pay you, if we have a contract with us.
Right,
And then wait a second, will you let me finish? Because this is pretty intricate.
I know, but you're saying it in a way that's confusing.
And then once we have that, then you're gonna give us also the information for Stanley Hoffman and Associates for the MSR and the legal costs for the MOU. Then we've got to take all that information, and then we've got to go back to the state, and then we're asking for line items to be set up from contingency to say, we've allocated this funds for this particular things. That's the way I understand it. Am I not correct in that? If it's something different, Dave, or, you know, then now anybody can say what they want to say.
Yeah, it's just that the items on the tasks for the state are different. Like the engineering is the engineering, and then the other items, it's just like with self-help. When self-help says they have X amount of money left over for annexation, like $16,000, that's not covering any engineering portions of annexation. I mean, of LAFCO. That's only covering like LAFCO, like what actually charges we have to pay physically to LAFCO. So
we're talking about Dee's contract right now. What needs to be in his contract?
I know.
That's what we have to be clear on with him, okay. And then he can give us the other information, because then we have to go back to Lawrence and say, this is what we need.
Right, but that's other stuff is separate from Dee's contract. It shouldn't be on Dee's. The only stuff that needs to be on Dee's contract is what he thinks, what he anticipates engineering costs are going to be to do the SOI. What he anticipates additional engineering costs are going to be to finish the annexation map. What he anticipates are going to be engineering costs to finish the the MSR, his portion of what he's been discussing with Stan Hoffman and Associates. What Stan Hoffman does is completely separate. Just like, what he, so not the lawyer stuff, that needs to go on our budget with the state of California, but not on Dee's contract, because Dee isn't the attorney.
Right. No, that's what I was saying, because we keep talking about all that, but I want Dee to be clear on what he's doing for his contract, because we're trying to get his contract.
Right.
Because you want everything done all at once on one amendment. And so we need that information spelled out for his engineering thing, so we don't keep running around in circles with this. Because then once his contract is, once his contract's together, then we have to deal with the other stuff, and we're going to go back to Lawrence and say, hey, here's the state contract. We need to put line items in so that we make sure that we cover these costs in the contract. Correct. So that we don't use up all the contingency.
Invoices. Correct, because right now we're getting invoices, and I'm not sure where they go, because it's not under his admin costs. Like, where are we pulling it from? Like, how are we paying the claim 7 stuff that we have, the claim 8 stuff that we have? That's the important thing, because some of those things go directly to an attorney, so that's completely separate. But some of those things go to Dee, and then where does it go? Like, what's it under? because it's not under hydrogeology, it's not under this, it's not under that, you know, so it's like it's broken down, but it's not, but there's things that are not covered. And if you say it's not in your admin, then where are we covering that stuff?
Well,
And what does admin cover?
they would be a separate line item.
What does admin cover?
That's the one that I'm confused on, because I originally thought admin had something to do with inspection, and Dee said
But
it
it
didn't.
doesn't. Inspections
So what is covered in this extra 24,000 for admin?
It is our estimate of the time that will be required to administer the contract, to analyze what's going, as we go through the contract, to do the administrative part of that contract, administering the contract with Johnson Drilling, and anything else that comes up during that time.
And like all the extra stuff like this, like that would, like this where you're changing your contract would go under admin, correct?
I'm sorry, Lisa, say it again, please.
So stuff like this that we're talking about right now, the cost for, stuff like this would potentially, when you're working on this contract, would go under admin.
Well, I haven't been charging anybody anything for working on this contract. Is that what you meant?
Well, I'm saying anything like this, like anything where you're, I'm just trying to get like what's really covered under admin. So if that's correct, then I don't see that you have, the things that are covered in here, you're missing the items that I said. So you're missing anything to do with drawing out the SOI, which we've gotten bills for. So how are we paying that? Anything new?
Yeah, that's right. And the administration part, that estimate on the budget, is to administer the contract and anything we have to do with this drilling program. And once we're done with the drilling program, the administrative costs go away. Well, what we didn't spend. And I'm hoping that we're over budgeted and we'll spend less. But again, it's an estimate of what we think will happen and we're hoping doesn't. And, we're going to spend some of that money, but not all of it. We only build by what we do. And then the rest of these, the MSR SOI, those were not anticipated in this particular state contract. The MOU we did, and then we took that money out. And then
but it's not done. It's just a draft and it's missing stuff.
Correct. And it looks like there might be more of those that are going to come up with respect to some of these.
So what we need to note is this extra money that it's going to cost because we have to have a contract with you. So what she's asking for is for like the NOI, the SOI, and you're dealing with the MOU for your costs. And so we need to, because we need to then put it in this contract, and then we need to go to Lawrence and say, hey, this is these additional costs that are going to cost us for the engineer to deal with those particular things that we're working on, and we need a line item for that.
Understood. And
we have to ask him and get approval from him. So, but we need to have that in the contract to be able to do that, because we're going to do it. I mean, it's not like we're not going to do it.
But he's not covering things like in his contract, like Stan Hoffman. We have to ask the state for that.
I know that. I didn't say that. Did you hear what I said? His engineering costs. That's it. Stan Hoffman is totally separate. The whole thing, that he's got to get that information for us, but that's totally separate. And that will also be asked for in a line item when we go to Lawrence at the state.
Correct.
that's clear to me. 3 additional line items, really. MSR SOI, MOU, and then any anticipated additional costs involved with the annexation. So that's clear.
And the MOU and the annexation map.
Right. Right. And just a detail on that.
Yeah, I guess those can fall under annexation on your contract, and they can fall separately under annexation as a separate item to the state that deals with LAFCO and stuff. But yes, so it's kind of everything that deals with annexation, everything. So I guess, yes, that would be the SOI, the whatever dealings whatever meetings we have, LAFCO, the annexation map, any of that on your end. And so, yeah, so that's one, I guess, one item on your end. And then the other item on your end would be the municipal services review, just because even though that's for the annexation, it's kind of a completely separate thing. And then the third thing is what did you say?
We had the MOU, then the MSR SOI, and then any that we just talked about the annexation. The only thing I just wanted to mention, and it's a detail, and I shouldn't even bring it up, but if we have an approved annexation map right now, and the cheapest way to add the Mormon Church is to get the annexation done, and then just to add that on at the end of that process, instead of redevising the whole map to include it.
Yeah, they said you don't have to do that at all. We just need the cost that it would take you to do. When we talked to Blair and Bud, they said that you could just do a separate little parcel. It doesn't even have to touch. You just include, you don't have to redo the whole annexation map. You just need to do the map for that other parcel.
Yes.
And if there's any other parcels that decide to annex at that point, it's the same thing. We just add them at that point. So it's not that we have to redo the entire annexation map you already did, but you still have to come up with, it's still going to be, I don't know, it's much less money, but you're still going to have to figure out, that the coordinates for those parcels and whatever you have to do to submit that.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah. It's much less money. It's not that much money, but it still needs to be coming from somewhere. So that's what I'm saying. I'm just worried because we're going to keep, I don't want to keep having to go after clients over and over again for stuff either.
Dave, do you have any comments?
I guess it's to be discussed at the next ad hoc committee when you get all the information.
Okay.
Well, you need all the information to pull all that stuff together.
Right. But we're pretty clear on what Dee needs to do with this and this contract, because we need to move on. Okay. All right. Discussion vote on district sphere of influence, annexation, data collection, and mapping. I don't know.
Oh, I have a question on this. So, I think I can't see who's on this phone call, but I think there was somebody from Lake of the Woods that had sent an email saying, can't you just draw this broad? I don't know. Let's talk about
that
how
was
to draw
Joan,
it.
and Joan Koenig. She's on the call.
Okay, because I'm on a phone now. So that I guess I just wanted to bring that up to see what Dee or anyone had to say about that. And then I still would like to see us broadly cover, there were some fears or whatever with the sphere of influence. It's been made very clear to us that the sphere of influence does not equal the annexation, and the sphere of influence is what at the very in the municipal services review, what we think the district is capable of, and doesn't mean that it's going to happen. So I just want to bring that up again and just say that I think that, I would like to see it be broad enough to make sense. Knowing that the only changes to the actual annexation map right now are probably going to be the one, the church, and maybe maybe that one, like a parcel to the east, but who knows? And I'm still a little confused, Dee, as to are the test wells the test wells that are they or are they not on the annexation sphere of influence map that we have right now? The test well that's on the French Wainwright.
They're on the annexation map, and the test wells down at SCA, that property is actually in the district right now. But the Wainwright property, French Wainwright, is not in the district, but it is being proposed for annexation. So it is on the annexation map.
Okay. So that's what you meant when you just meant that it's not currently in the district, but it is definitely on the map, because it's gone back and forth, so I'm a little confused.
Yes.
Okay. So are there any other comments? Because I know, like, a couple other people had comments the last couple of meetings about not drawing in certain things. Are you able to do a more, what are your comments about what what Joan from Lake of the Woods brought up, Dee?
Yeah, I didn't get those comments, so.
Oh, you didn't get that email?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm low. I can't look at anything right now because I lost power to.
The basic comment from Joan was just doing a broad drawing, probably like a, rectangular drawing of the, everything we want to encompass to make it simpler. Like go to the, National Forest or some shit. That's my words, not hers, but that's what I gathered. And just do all right, this is the whole area we're going to do the sphere of, and not worry about, individual properties.
The issue with the drawing the SOI is that we have to do an engineering report that tells how we would serve that area. And so the bigger we make it, the more things we have to cover in our report. And so I think simplifying it and just adding what we intend to annex and then what we think would come in would be a simpler way, and it would save engineering time.
Okay.
You have to do a separate engineering report for that? I thought you only had to do the engineering report. I thought that's what the MSR is, and I thought that you're just providing whether we have capacity or not in the MSR, and that it doesn't mean that we're able to serve those, that becomes part of the annexation. That's my understanding, that the report is the annexation, not the SOI.
That's right, Lisa, it is. But everything that we add to the SOI, we have to consider in that MSR, my part of the report, it basically says this is how we'd serve it if it comes in, and these are the estimated demands that'll put on the district system. And in order to meet those demands, we'll have to take some action, that may mean drilling another well. And so when we add these properties in the SOI, they have to be addressed in the MSR, in the engineering component of the MSR. So that's why I'm thinking, we have a pretty good handle.
How many extra properties are we talking about? Most of those properties are being addressed already, right? Aren't those properties already addressed in like all the Lake of the Woods properties? Like, because we didn't cover the forest, but didn't we cover all the
Lisa,
other parcels?
let's let Joan maybe clarify her email to us, and would you like to say something, Joan?
Hi, folks. Yes. What I was trying to point out on my email is that the Lake of the Woods subdivision stops a little bit west of the Catholic Church, that there are some privately owned properties that are still in Kern County that go past that kind of boundary of the Catholic Church area and go up to Lockwood Valley Road. And we're only talking a few properties, although they are not little house lots. They're, couple of acre lots. The importance that I saw on those is that those particular properties are in the direct path of Dark Canyon, which is where Lake of the Woods previously had access to spring water and such. And I foresaw that in the future as a possible resource to be able to get water. And geographically, these properties are very, very close to the Lake of the Woods subdivision. So the infrastructure to conceivably add them into the future would not be a real costly thing.
Joan, I have a question, and that is, are those properties in Kern County, or do we cross the line and go in?
Yeah, thanks, Dee. The properties that I pointed out are specifically in Kern County.
Good.
There are 3 or 4 more properties adjacent to that, but they do cross over the Ventura County line, and I did not want to open up that can of worms.
Thank you. Yeah, that's another can of worms, but yeah, there in Kern County, we can draw the SOI map around that and no problem. And again, if we have an idea of specific properties that might come in, I think that's the whole idea of the SOI and the SOI map and the MSR that talks about them and says if they come in and we decide to serve them, this is what we have to do. And so, yeah, we can, you have a list of APNs or something?
I can give you a list of APNs, and I also have a property map, a tax assessor's map that I highlighted and identified specifically where those properties are, so that you get a point of reference into Lake of the Woods, and I can forward that to you.
That's great. Yeah.
And I'd need to know if that's okay with the board with the Fraser Park Public Utility District.
I would be okay.
Well, I have a question,
Yes, go ahead, Director Gibson.
and it might be simple, okay? And I'm just confused, but would we have to send a letter to these individual property owners that, like
No.
we've sent to the 2 churches? No?
No. Well, in the sphere of influence, basically, it's not even, I don't believe we even have to notify them. It's just that we're adding them in the sphere of influence. So then later on, when we go to do the annexation map, we can ask them and they don't have to, but we still have the sphere of influence. And then later on, if they choose to annex in because let's say they run into water problems and we're able to connect or whatever, then it's cheaper and easier for them to annex into our district.
Right, and Director Gibson, sphere of influence, it was clarified that we only need to notify adjoining water companies. They want to know that we're not stepping on an adjoining water company. It's not who you're including. You're kind of trying to say in the scenario that these people did want to join in, are we able to do that? And what are we projecting? Because we're not going to do this sphere of influence every 5 years, or you're like, what are we projecting forward? Because it costs quite a bit of money to do the MSR. What are we projecting that we may be, that may be coming into the district? Or they may decide not to come into the district, but what if they decide to come into the district after we're in the middle of all this, rather than having to start over again? So, and yeah, you don't have to notify. You notify the adjoining water companies.
Okay, is that all we need on this discussion?
I think
Okay,
I
well-
understand.
Well, Well, I sort of feel like we're in two different places with it, and I guess eventually we need to just decide what we want. I feel like Dee's in a different place than I am, certainly. And I don't know about the rest of the board. But it
Well,
does look like Dee's interested in including the other parcels that are in Lake of the Woods.
Well, are you open to that?
Yes.
Okay.
I would like it to be as inclusive as possible. I've stated that multiple times. I feel like I'm getting resistance, and I just don't know if the resistance is the rest of the board or what, but I've stated this over and over and over again, and like I can't tell you how many meetings. So I'm getting to, you know, so I need to know from the board what they want, because I feel like we keep going, you know, that I feel like the sphere of influence needs to be as inclusive as what it might be, and then the annexation isn't going to be that, but it allows for other people who may, after they see what's going on, want to join in. But I don't know. I feel like a resistance. So.
Hey, I could have missed something, but I thought Dee just said how easy that would be to include those other properties. I didn't see any reticence on his part.
Would, but not
Right.
for the other side, not for the
Right.
east side. I'm not hearing that on the east side. Or the properties didn't join in on the other side of the Cuddy Creek properties.
I have no problem being inclusive. The only thing is, like Dee was saying, the one thing we have to keep in mind is the work he has to do as far as seeing how much our capacity is and our ability to serve if we did annex them, because that's all got to be part of that.
That's what the MSR is supposed to determine.
Right.
Well, apparently, well,
Are we talking just only the sphere of influence?
We're
Well,
talking about the sphere of influence, yes, but,
right, but
it runs into the MSR also, because the MSR is the document that's needed to make the sphere of influence at LAFCO. So you cannot you can state what you want for your sphere of influence, but then you have to have a municipal services review to say that you can actually, that you have capacity to serve that. But then that doesn't mean that, you know, there can be contingencies on all that stuff. Like there can be like contingency on the Connor property, contingency. So there's contingencies. It doesn't mean you're going to annex all of that stuff. It just means that's your, you know, what you're looking to as a district, as what might possibly be, you know, your outer boundaries of the district that you could serve.
Okay.
So you can have a sphere of influence that's broader than what you annex, so that later at some point they could say, could they be part of it? Am I understanding?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The sphere of influence can be broader than what you're actually annexing.
right, and that's the purpose. That's the purpose of it, so that even if they didn't want to, they don't want to be part of it, but if they wanted to come in later, but as it is, then when we do the MSR, that also has to show that we have the capacity, that we will have the capacity to service those if they decided to come in. Is that not correct, Dee?
Yeah, it's a review of the areas inside the SOI, and as to what we would need to do to serve them if indeed they came into the district.
Right, whether we had to have another well, or whether like we have to have well 5, you know, up and running, you know, and different things like that.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, it was what we tried to accomplish at the pre-planning part of this, right?
Yeah, we didn't.
Right, we didn't accomplish it. We didn't get it done because things changed at the end, and then and then we never got the planning stuff, so everything is on hold forever. And we had a little more misunderstanding. We didn't understand about the SOI and also
Mhm.
what we had to do, that like with the annexation too, that we had up to 5 years once you file the MSR to actually annex. And so a lot of that information we originally didn't understand or have, so we have a better understanding now.
Okay, well,
got a quick
then as a
question.
board member, I'm in favor of a broader sphere of influence.
Carlos, can you mute yourself? I hear your baby.
Yeah, I have a quick question. That's why
Okay.
I unmuted myself.
Okay, go ahead, Carlos.
Didn't the MSR say Fraser Park with this annexation has the capacity to serve an extra 100 or 200? I can't remember what the number was. So couldn't just whatever's included in the sphere of influence be under that number and still work under that MSR?
Well, we can't.
Good
use
memory, Carlos.
We have
Yeah.
to redo the MSR because it's been 5 years and the MSR needs to be redone anyway. So
Well, I know,
so-
but that information is in there where D put or whoever did the MSR said Fraser Park has a capacity to serve an extra 100
Right.
people or so.
Right.
I remember.
But that needs to, what I'm saying is that needs to be re-examined because we have to redo that portion of the MSR because of the length of time and because there's other, because of other changes. So yes, that does exist in there, and yes, that would be one way of doing it. If I suppose if we didn't, but look at it more carefully. But we're paying a bunch of money to redo the MSR theoretically. So, I mean, I would think that we would want to re-examine that.
Yeah. We'll have to.
Well, and we'll have to re-examine what our water levels are and stuff. Isn't that correct, Dee? I mean, we're going to have to. I mean, how often do we keep water levels of what our static wells are?
We sound our well in the yard usually about once a week, certainly a couple times a month, which it doesn't change that much. But we sound for static as well as pumping level. It's come back up again. Now we're going into another drought, but it's stayed pretty consistent. So I don't feel like the water table has changed except for the better since we did the first report, since Dee did.
Right. Do we have some place where we have like if you're doing that weekly, do you have like it documented like on this date?
We write it on
this
that
level?
Yeah, we write it on the production sheet that we have to fill out every day, and then we retain those for eternity. So
Because I would like to see,
all you have to do is come in and look at it. It's not a spreadsheet, but it's on it doesn't change that much. So I could sit there and I could do a spreadsheet for the last 5 years and waste all that time just to show you that, yeah, it changed from this amount to this amount, but we check it to make sure there's no drastic drops or anything that we have to be concerned with. Right now, the static level is about 42 feet. I think it was about 10 feet lower than that when it was in the height of the drought. So we're staying
originally
good.
Before the drought, we were at about 30 feet.
Yeah, well, yeah. At different times throughout history, it's been that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And the MSR would have that as a contingency, right? Because if this drought continues, then we obviously could not supply as many. We would not be able to annex in as many.
Actually, I think we could if we have two more wells that are good producers. Because even with the drought, if we have 700 feet or 600 feet of aquifer, and we've been dealing with only 200 feet for all these years, or 140 before well 6, when we had only well 4, we would still have plentiful water to get us through the droughts.
Which is why we don't want to finish any of this stuff until we know what the test wells can or can't produce, because that's going to tell us Exactly. That's why we put this off until we dug the test wells. We didn't want to file with LAFCO until that was done, and we didn't want to do the MOU until that was done, because that's going to tell us what we can or can't really accomplish.
Yeah, and if things are going to keep changing and we have to keep on redoing these, we probably should set a date and time when all the changes are going to be complete and done, whether people want to join or exit anyway. Because if we do it after the test wells, that's looking like we won't have the test wells in until on the end of the summer, right?
Right.
What we'll have to do is do a forecast. I'm thinking that we want to get the MSR in before we finish the test wells. We'll have to do a forecast of what we think that will do. But the other part of that is really what's going on through the rest of the valley as well. Because when we wrote the initial MSR, we included also the capacity of the wells at Lake of the Woods, and we included the capacity of the wells that existed at that time at Fraser Park. So, we got to look at everything and fold that into the revised review of the combined systems, and adding in the other properties that may come in for the.
And if I recall, the water from Lake of the Woods was negligible in that report, because at that time they were trucking water. So I don't think that their water table, it would do nothing but improve our status if it came up and became better producers, I would imagine.
Yeah, we'll just have to look. What we have to do is establish that in our report. And that's what the report's about. So yeah, you're right, John.
Okay, so basically, I guess the question is, because Director Schoenberg has asked it about the board being in favor of being more inclusive. How does the rest of the board feel? I'm all for being more inclusive on the SOI and getting that established.
I am too.
Well, I think we need to, but I also think we need to take in consideration some of the properties west of us as well, or east of us.
Well, the only thing wrong with going too far east is we would never financially be able to do it, which is what the board decided when this was originally done, because the state's paying to go west, and east, the only other property east, you're already going to include.
We can't go too far east because we run into Lebec anyways. The only thing east that we can really do, there's one sort of, I believe Lebec already put that into their sphere of influences, that the estates there. So the only thing we're really talking about is ending kind of where the bridge is, which is the Lecter property, which is partially in the annexation right now, but not fully. But he's sold off some of it, so I think we should probably consider having that fully in, and stay a property. But everything beyond that is really, I think, has already been included in Lebec.
Right.
Yeah, but I think we need to go that far down. I think we need all of Saya and that other property in there.
Right. I think that's what we were already clear on, that Saya and Lichter property.
I don't think we are clear on it, because I think we've gone round and round and round with this, because I get resistance when I bring that up.
Well, no, originally, the original resistance had to do with whether you have to notify the property owners. And we didn't want, because we had some contentious relationship prior with the Saya property, that we didn't want to upset them. That was our original understanding. And then we found out from LAFCO that it isn't about that, and we don't have to notify them, that it's just about putting them in the sphere of influence, and that they're not being forced to
They're not
join,
beholden to annex, yes.
and they don't have to annex, so it really doesn't affect them. And so I think that from my perspective, the clarity is there that we should include Lichter property and say, and be done with it. That's my opinion. I don't know what other people's opinion is.
Well, we gotta stop someplace.
Right.
Here's what I think, we've got a really good map. We've got a really good feel as to the properties that we think we can serve. There are a few more that we believe that we can serve down the road, and we can draw a map around those. And if there's some to the east that we think are feasible, we can draw a map around that as well. And but I think we have to be careful about going too far, because we've got a project that pretty well covers, the big thing about this project is it's a replacement project for Lake of the Woods, and to get water supplies that are reliable to Lake of the Woods. And in addition, there are properties in between the two communities that may or may not need water, and they are the ones that have the wells, existing wells. And so as their wells go dry, the district would then, if they wanted us to, provide service to them. And so the whole project is not, the state finance project is not built on growth. It's built on replacing demand that already exists with district water rather than individual wells. That's kind of the bottom line of really the reason for the project. Now, when we get into the MSR, and there are other properties that we feel are using water that may have wells go dry and they may need to have a replacement supply, we want to make sure that we're able to do that. So, it's kind of a fine line. It isn't a growth project, but we know that with a great water supply and lots of additional capacity, likely we could consider at some point in time a growth into areas that are not currently served with water, that are not currently developed.
Okay. So what do we need to go from here? Because I think we need to,
Let's just move on. I don't even. We're just going around in circles.
well, that's what I'm saying. So I think, I mean, I don't know what the clarity is. So is there something that we need to continue to talk about on this, or do we need to move on?
Well, right now we need to. I don't know. We need what Dee thinks it's going to cost to do what he's saying. That's what we need.
Okay. All right. And that's the same thing with the discussion on the MSR number F. We've already talked about that. So, G, discussion vote on changing to
we have
monthly.
our own opinions on that we can talk about at a later time.
Okay. G, discussion vote on changing to monthly claims. What was that about?
That we're going to need to change the claims to monthly at some point soon, because as soon as we start doing the test wells, we're going to be needing to pay the contractors. And so we're going to want to go to a monthly claim, but right now we're not there yet. But as soon as we probably break ground on the test wells, we should be doing that, because otherwise they're waiting for, it's like a 3-month claim period, and that's no, they're not going to want to.
We can carry this over to next month's meeting.
Yeah, because they're not going to break ground until May now.
Right. So, okay. H, discussion vote on claim 7 and other claims and payouts. We did get, I got an email from Tiffany. We did get the check from claim 6, which I'm looking it up right now. in the amount of 10,697. Now, was that the total amount? Did they deduct anything out, Dave? Do you know offhand?
They deducted the $16.04 out.
Okay, that was just that one that we decided not to. Okay, so we did get the state of California check. So that needs to be deposited into the Lake of the Woods planning account, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and
Did you get claim 7?
Yes.
yes, but hold on before we go on claim 6. So once that money's in, we have those invoices that we need to pay. Is that correct? Or
Yes.
because we have not paid those yet.
Correct. Well,
Okay.
some of them we did pay. Some of them we paid ahead of time, and we need to be reimbursed. We paid,
Okay.
I think, one of the attorneys, one or two of the attorney ones ahead of time.
Right. So yeah. So we need to look at that. So that's something that we're going to have to look at, Tiffany.
I have all that in my spreadsheet. I've been keeping track.
Okay, great. Thank you, Tiffany. I'm so grateful for you.
You're welcome.
Okay, now we can talk about claim 7. I reviewed claim 7. I didn't see any glaring errors or anything. I think it's good as is.
The only thing I had, and Dee, I know it's, I know Kelly had given me the corrected invoice, and I cannot find it. But at the very last page of the claim, we had MSR costs in there, and she gave me a cleaned up one with just the Test Wells administration contract with Johnson Drilling. That cost was the only one that we're billing at this point because we have no MSR or LAFCO line item to pay on the other one.
Yep.
I mean, I can submit it as is. I just crossed out and just readjusted the total.
Okay, I can have her send you another copy, Dave. If essentially you just misplaced the copy and you need another one.
Hold
Yeah,
on. I talked to Tiffany about this, and I thought that we had figured it out, Tiffany. That we didn't you talk to both Kelly and Dave about this? It's the one invoice that I talked to you about.
Yeah, you know what? I called D. Jasper and Associates. I left a message. I emailed Kelly and Dee, and I didn't get a reply to the email or the message, so I wasn't able to get a hold of them.
Because I came up, did you
Yeah,
talk to Dave about that at all, or did you talk about it? Because I don't want it, I thought we were going to just pull it off of the, never mind. I tried to work it all out where it was much easier, but obviously that didn't happen.
Dee, I did want to bring up an issue. Whenever you send us emails and stuff, you have to copy Tiffany on it because she's kind of like our right hand person and like when you send us the draft report, you failed to put her on there, and we need to have her on that. And also, she has had some issues of not getting replies back from Kelly and even you. So we really need, I mean, she's our go-to person that really takes care of things. So it's really important.
Today I gave Tiffany D's cell phone number for when he's working out of the office, so she'll have that to contact him. And most of the time, D does include her in his emails, except for it got dropped off this time. But typically he does. I don't know about Kelly not responding, but
Okay.
the first part he usually does.
I'm bringing something up, so I just want to make sure that we do because Tiffany is really our gatekeeper on a lot of stuff, and if she doesn't get it, then it makes it more difficult for us board members, because sometimes there's a miscommunication, or I might need something printed, or I need something done, and I call. So that's all, the only reason I'm bringing it up.
So noted, and I'll make sure that I don't miss you, Tiffany. I normally try to cover you, but yeah, sometimes I do miss, so.
And
Up to
the
myself.
reason I brought that up is I think it's really important that we not put multiple billings on a single invoice. So if a billing is primarily about, the MSR, and it's like, and it should really be a separate invoice from the billing for the test wells, because it's completely different things. And I think it's really hard to track. So when there are multiple things put on a single invoice, it just makes, that's why we have to cross things off and do what we're doing. So it's just would be really great if it was just a separate invoice for things like the MSR, which are completely separate from Johnson Drilling.
I'm sending Kelly an email to remind her that we got to make sure that our billings are, that they cover one topic, and we try to do that, but occasionally we mess up. So we'll get it.
So for now, because it's too late, I guess we're just gonna have this like sloppy thing that we're gonna have to remember to come back to on claim 8, because we're gonna have to put the 2 that didn't make it on claim 7 onto 8, and then cross off the middle one, and we just need to track that, Tiffany. So the 2101046B is going to come up again, but we will have paid part of it already. So, I think this is where it gets confusing for our bookkeeper, because, it becomes like we're paying the same invoice, but we're paying twice on it, but luckily all this stuff is going to be going into a claim. So I think hopefully it makes more sense.
And Lisa, I have that separated out. I have a full spreadsheet dedicated to D. Jasper and Associates with
Okay.
every single billing we've ever had, plus separated out by project. So anytime we write a check or cut a check, it's noted on there along with check numbers. So I have a decent system. So yeah, I do have that one separated out.
Okay, so I think
Right.
we can do, Dave, what you have here, which is that it's, that 2 of them are crossed off and the middle one we're paying on this claim.
So this claim is for a total of $2,419.48, which basically includes one invoice for D. Jasper and Associates for what, 198?
Yep.
And we have, let's see, we have in director costs $1,999.98. Admin costs are $221.50, and then the D. Jasper is $198, which comes to the total of $2,419.48. So I would entertain a motion that we, or I don't even know if we move, we just agree to go ahead and submit the claim 7.
Now, usually we read off all the different invoices and all that stuff,
But there isn't any invoices. It's all ad
so I-
hoc and
it's
administrative.
right. So I'll move that we submit claim 7, which includes all of the administrative and board fees for what is it, Dave? December, January, February?
Well, it looks like it's December too.
I said December, January, February. I was asking.
It's
Okay.
December 2020 through February 2021.
Okay, so once again, so I move that we pay all the admin, board costs, etc., for December 2020 through February 21. And in addition, invoice 2101046B for D. Jasper and Associates in the amount of $198 for principal engineer test well administration for Johnson Drilling.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Director Gibson is second. Roll call. Directors, Director Gibson,
Aye.
Director Kelly,
Aye.
Director Nyman's and I, Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Motion carried 4-0, 1 absent. Okay,
Have a question.
sure.
Did you folks get the cover letter that goes with this claim?
I saw the email.
Okay. Well, that's got a cover letter. It includes a project report. Did anybody have a chance to review that?
I didn't see it, no.
Okay. Want me to read it to you?
Sure.
Okay. It's a cover letter for claim 7. Dear Mr. Manzano, who is the person who receives the claims and process them. Attached are the original and 1 copy of claim 7 for planning project costs from December 1st, 2020 through February 28th, 2021. Project report from December 1st, 2020 through February 28th, 2021. The district has held 3 monthly board meetings and calls, 6 ad hoc committee conference calls with project consultants and state water resource control board staff to review project work, claim 6 review and approval to sign and submit, consultant charges and planning and technical assistant budget adjustments. The annexation and sphere of influence maps were reviewed and consultation on municipal services review were made. Excuse my English grammar. Hard copies of Claim 6 were delivered to the State Drinking Water Reimbursement Unit for reimbursement on January 22nd, 2021. The district and engineer have discussed and reviewed engineering contract changes, including increasing the engineering budget for various project test well costs and the addition of administration and inspection to the engineering contract. The district requested and received approval from the state on January 21st, 2021 for the adjustment of the project budget items with savings on the test wells. The test well site license agreement for Site 2 is signed and completed. Both test well sites are now accessible for construction. Or should I just say test well construction, D. The district discussed and monitored She's Self-Help's work plan request for additional state technical assistance funds. The project urgently needs the engineering, legal, and related test well pre-construction work. The work plan was still under review by the state. The district continues to cover these costs to keep the project going. In February, the state requested additional documentation on Claim 6, which the district was able to provide except for $16.04 in printing costs that were removed from the claim by the district. Please note the district received payment of Claim 6 on March 25th, 2021 in the amount of $10,697. We appreciate the quick payment of the claim. I can be reached at 245-3734 or Dave Warner, Self-Help Enterprises at so-and-so. Johnny Allison, Manager, Fraser Park Public Utility District.
Perfect.
Can I modify some grammatical corrections on there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you could resend it, and I guess Johnny has to sign it.
Right. And then Jerry has to sign the claim form.
Okay.
So, okay, I'll get it to you folks.
Thank you, Dave.
All right.
Appreciate your hard work. Okay, 5, discussion vote update on Fraser Park Public Utility District meter replacement project and emergency replacement well and water supply project.
I'm just gonna, can I say something on this?
Yes.
So before this meeting, we were asked, so we had a discussion with the state during the ad hoc about possibly getting a bridge loan and the possibility of covering the cost for the bridge loan, of the state reimbursing the interest costs, etc. And then we received an email on Friday asking for all of the information needed, but none of us responded to that. So on Monday, Lawrence asked us to respond by Tuesday to the letter asking for a chunk of information if we wanted the state to be able to reimburse us for the bridge loan. And we had no time to bring it to the meeting of the board. So I felt that, well, there were a couple of issues. One is that, sorry, my dog's distracting me. One of the issues was that we didn't have enough time to discuss it. One of the issues was that the bridge loan, we hadn't, looked at enough on the bridge loan at that point to be able to really decide, whether we were going with that or not, or how much money we needed. And so basically, and then also there was a note on there that I saw, like a sort of fine print thing that said that until the financial agreement is in place, that we can only be reimbursed 10% of any costs that get expended on this project. So with all that in mind, I talked to Director Nyman and expressed that I felt that it wasn't a good idea at this point to try to get the bridge loan. That it was expressed by Lawrence that we were on the verge of getting of the state approving this and going into the funding portion of the funding agreement portion of this. I felt that it was going to that it would hold off, that if we submitted this bridge loan information, that it was possibly going to extend and create problems with the project moving forward at this point, and also that we didn't have enough information at this point. We couldn't bring it to the board at this point, and so I felt
And
that
neither one of us had time to work on it.
right, and I
We
felt
were
that
all busy.
I felt that it wasn't a good idea to pursue at this point, and Director Nyman concurred with that. And we were told by Lawrence that should we decide, should the well fail, or should we decide at a later point, once the funding agreement is in place, that we need the bridge loan, that we could discuss it at that point. So we basically had Tiffany pen a letter. I don't think any of the directors saw that because it was not, during a meeting. So I don't know if Tiffany, if you want to read that letter, did it go out to the other board members? It didn't, right?
No, it didn't, because that would be a serial meeting.
Right. So can you read that at this point so that we
I can. Let me just bring up the email. It'll take a minute. Hold on.
So actually, I guess I kind of merged A and B and C for unfortunately, because they all kind of go together on the agenda.
I was going to say something, but you were talking, so I let you talk.
Yeah, I don't know how I could have said it without merging them all. So
Okay, I'm still looking at that email. I'm doing it on my phone, so it's a little harder. Let's see.
So basically, for the rest of the board, Lawrence said, like I said, that it's about about to get approval, and or to
So when we had our state meeting, basically what he said about the bridge loan originally is basically if we got a bridge loan before we got funding, that the state originally would not cover the cost of the I guess the loan fees and the interest, but we would get reimbursed for the bridge loan. So that was the original discussion. Now, the question I had, because he had said in that email that before what is it, what did he say, the SBA, the funding agreement is signed and it takes 6 months, that if we did it prior to that we'd only get reimbursed 10% of the cost,
Right.
what we expended. So I need clarification on that, Dave, because it sounded like if we did a bridge loan and we started doing the work before they signed the funding agreement, then we wouldn't get reimbursed for what we expended, except for 10%. And that concerned me.
I did find the email.
Okay, go ahead. You can go ahead and read it if you like, Tiffany.
Okay. Lawrence, the FPPUD Ad Hoc Committee has reviewed your request for information pertaining to the bridge loan for the well replacement. We understand that you need the information by tomorrow in order to continue processing the funding application in a timely manner. Normally, the Ad Hoc Committee would bring the request to the full board for input and approval, but in this case, there is not enough time. The Ad Hoc Committee has decided to continue with the meter well replacement application without requesting reimbursement for costs associated with the bridge loan. The district will wait for funding approval to begin the construction work on the well and meters. If the well should fail before funding is secured, the FPPUD will apply for a bridge loan at that time. Should the state not be able to reimburse associated fees and interest charges, the district will cover those costs out of pocket. Thank you for your help in this matter.
And you had, Brahma, you had mentioned in his email, he said, they can reimburse up to 10% of the project cost prior to executing a funding agreement, FBA or whatever, the FBA process. So they weren't saying they just couldn't commit any more than before that that FBA process that incorporates the final bid is made. They can only reimburse up to 10%. So you're on the hook until they get the thing signed off. But it wasn't like he was saying they weren't going to pay anything past that.
Okay, I just was a little confused on that because it concerned me. And so I guess what the discussion has to be, I mean, we're waiting. Do we want to wait? I guess it takes what, 6 months for that process to take place?
Yeah, our FBA process is the mechanism for incorporating the bids into the agreement. And the FBA process has been taking 6 months. I don't know if he was referring to if it's over. I mean, you go into it with an estimated construction amount. Right. And if they have to add money, then that is like a contract. If they have to add more money that's above the contingency, then that's a contract amendment. And that may take some time. So it would be good to talk with him and clarify some of this, because I'm slightly confused on this, because if you get bids, you have a certain time to award it. And the bids are only good for so long. So
right.
I wouldn't want a bidder to sit for 6 months on a large contract and you're stuck waiting.
But yeah, but this process, I'm kind of confused. Like, so are we supposed to go out to bid first before they would consider that? Because we've already given them projected costs. So for them to do the agreement, we have to have the bids done. Is that correct?
No, I don't think so.
No.
I think the bids are part of the agreement process. So I think basically what happens is we have our application, we've done everything we need. Anything we do at this point is going to slow down the application. It's about to be decided on, but that whole process takes up to 6 months. And so at that point, then, the bids are part of the financing agreement. So I think, yeah, I think our best bet is to try to wait unless we are looking, it's looking like the well's starting to fail, in which case we'll have to go out to bid more quickly as an emergency. Is that correct, Dee? Like if like I mean, I know it can fail without showing any signs, but most likely we would start to see, sand or something in the, we'd start to see a problem.
Yeah,
But
we would hope that we would, and I think it would probably be sand production and reduction in the amount of capacity that we're getting out of the well. So, hopefully we would have a little bit of a notice, but boy, if that thing fails, well, don't need to say where we'll be, but we'll be in a real world of hurt for sure.
maybe we need to have D send up one of his guys at least quarterly to do that sand test, because we're not going to see sand in a day-to-day operation because it goes in the tank and then goes to other tanks. So the only way we know is D can send a guy up and they have a little apparatus that measures the amount of sand, and they can compare it to the last 2 times they did that, and then we would know better.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would probably be a really good idea, so that we're not just caught unawares, because I think, if it is looking like it's failing imminently, then we have no choice but to either spend what money we have, or, we'd have to go out to bid on an emergency basis. But there's also, when it's an emergency, it curtails some of the time length on the bidding process. So like that's what happened on Wolf, is that we had no choice and we had to do it as an emergency bid. And so, I mean, that would possibly be the same thing. Like if it's looking like it's about to fail before we have a funding agreement, then we would just try to do it on an emergency basis. Correct, Dee?
Let me see, am I still on? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's correct. The, I think, I was, let me catch up with what you said, Lisa. I was writing Curtis an email to prepare him to send somebody up to do some sand testing, but what was your question again?
Well, it was just sort of, wasn't a question, it was sort of a statement. So I just wanted to make sure that I'm not off base. But that if, so if we have somebody coming up and looking at it, and we start to see that it looks like it's imminently, going to fail, and we're in the middle of this process, we're not at the 6 months, and we had to go out to bid, it's possible that, because at that point it would be an absolute emergency, that we would be able to curtail some of the, we would do the same thing we did for Wolf. We would put it out as an emergency bid. We would have to write a letter and all that, but that would shorten the amount of time that for us to go out to bid. So hopefully at that point, if we did see that it was failing, we'd have to we'd have to rush on everything, like and maybe pay the interest on a bridge loan and all that and the fees, but we would put it out to bid as an emergency.
Right. I think we could move that along pretty quickly. I think the thing that is a little troublesome is, or troubling is, we put it out to bid, we get bids in, but it takes a month or two for, these contractors to get a piece of drilling equipment free to come up and do the well. So, there is a time lag even after we get the bids in. And so it just depends on what's going on at the time as to how quickly we can get it replaced.
And what the weather is too.
Well, the weather could be an issue. So, not wanting to borrow trouble, but if we did have that situation, we would have to try to find a contractor who would have a piece of equipment that he could move up to Fraser Park immediately. And we would probably pay a premium to do that. You know, it would take a little bit of time to get all that done.
Well, it seems like the funding agreement isn't going to be signed in for 6 months, the process. So, I mean, you're talking, what, September? Before we get that agreement. So I think
Still
we
have
need to, maybe we need to talk to Lawrence more about, about get clarification on, like, if we did a bridge loan, you know, at some point, maybe we decide to start the well like in, you know, July or August or something like that. And if we needed a bridge loan till we get the funding, to see, just to clarify with him what the parameters are so that we don't run into trouble.
we also wouldn't be paying everything necessarily immediately, so I think we could start paying out of what we have. So if you feel that we needed to move forward immediately and start putting things out to bid and everything, we just, you know, we'd need to talk to Lawrence and make sure that we do everything correctly so that he's able to reimburse. But if we were to do that, I think we have enough money right now in our capital improvement fund that we would be able to start the process while we're looking for a bridge loan and everything. If we, you know, we don't have enough to pay the full well if it's $1 million, but we have, you know, we have a chunk to be going through the process of everything we would need up until the point, because I don't think we'd be going for that whole $1 million in a bridge loan anyway. We'd be going for, you know, probably 400,000 or 500,000.
You know, it might be a good idea to start that process now and get qualified and you know, get on somebody's radar, if you will, you know, so that if we do need that bridge loan, we'll already have some kind of relationship with a bank or with a lender, and that might be able to shortcut that as well. But you're right, Lisa.
Right, but what I'm saying is that we have the money right now to start the process even without that bridge loan while we're looking into the bridge loan. So if you feel that it imminently needs to be started, then we have the money to start the project, because it takes a while to go out to bid anyway. There's all kinds of stuff that has to be done before that. So if we, as long as we're following all of the rules and everything for this, if you know, if they approve it without but really the funding agreement is the absolute approval of the project, correct?
Right. Well, that's right. You know, they've got, once we've got a funding agreement in place, then the financing is there and it's waiting for us to spend it, you know.
Right, but what I'm saying is when they approve it, then there's a 6-month period to get the funding. Is the approval says that we're going to get that funding, or do we have to wait the 6 months to see if we're going to really be approved?
Oh, good question,
You see what I'm
Dave.
saying?
It should come with a time frame for, this is when you're going to do the work, the funding agreement. So that's a question but that's a defining question. That's a question for Lawrence too. So
Because what I'm saying is, if we know, you know, at what point do we know that it's definitely going to be reimbursed or covered? So if it's like 6 months from now, from when they say it theoretically is approved, then I mean,
Yeah,
I guess
because Lawrence said that that the project would be approved or funded by June. Now, granted, there's more paperwork after that, but does that commit the state to funding this project, even if it does take 6 months more to get the funding agreement fully signed?
That's what I'm asking.
Well, I think that's what the question is. I think we need to gather more information from Lawrence when we have our next state update meeting. I think we need to discuss all these parameters and get it nailed down so that we can start planning to see, you know, when we can either move to start the well or if we need to wait. And in the meantime, I guess Dee can have somebody do a test to see how much sand and how the well is doing, to evaluate that so we have a better idea.
Yeah, if the board wants me to do that, I'll line somebody up to meet with Johnny next week.
What does the other members think? I think that's a prudent thing that we should do.
About how much does that cost, Steve? Because we may or may not, that may not be reimbursed. So I just want to get an idea of the cost. I mean, we need to do it.
I wouldn't think it'd be more than a couple $100, but
Okay.
you know,
So,
Yeah,
so
I don't recall the last time, but I remember thinking that it was cheap. So
I think we should absolutely go ahead with that, and we should just pay it out of pocket. See if it can be reimbursed, but if it can't, you know, it's we need to do it either way.
okay. There's no problem with that, and if we have to wait for payment, it's no big deal. You know, it's a minor expense.
Well,
can
we
do.
would probably pay that, and then we would try to submit it for reimbursement.
Mhm. Okay.
Because I think it's based on that date that we said the project starts as well. So as long as I know we gave a date for that already, correct, Tiffany?
Yes.
We did.
So I think, you know, anything from that date on has the potential of being reimbursable as long as, you know, they're okay with it. So yeah, I mean, I think we're okay. I think we're okay to pay it, and then we would submit it for reimbursal. And if for some reason it didn't get reimbursed, we need to do it anyway, because it's going to give us an idea of where, you know, the well's health.
What is your opinion, Director Gibson?
Yeah, I think so. I think we ought to go for the loan.
That's not what we were asking.
Oh, I'm sorry. I went to the bathroom.
Yes, we need, I think we do need to do the sand test.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Okay.
but, you know, at least every 3 months.
Yeah. So, yeah, so I think the board's in agreement that we do the sand test. What we were saying, Director Gibson, we were talking about, we need to get more clarification from Lawrence as far as when the approval's coming, the 6 months for the funding agreement, and when and if we did a bridge loan, you know, what costs would be covered, how it would be covered, you know, so that we could get a better determination on when we would want to go ahead and start to do the well, to do the well.
Yeah, okay. I think we need more clarification too, because when I read at the meeting where Lawrence discussed it, I thought it wasn't that clear. I thought that they'd pay the interest on the loan only.
No, they wouldn't. Actually, if we do a bridge loan, I mean, basically what the discussion was that originally, if we do a bridge loan, the state would not cover the cost of the loan or the cost of the interest of the loan, but they would reimburse everything else. Then he was going to submit something in order for us to have the bridge loan, but he needed information in one day, and there was nobody available to work on it, to give him the information he needed, and it would hold up the application. And so we told him, well, the ad hoc committee said, we don't have the time, no one has the time, and so therefore that we would, if we needed to do the bridge loan, we would pay the interest and the loan cost if that was a requirement, because we couldn't give him the information that he needed immediately.
Okay.
So anyhow, okay. So I think the best bet is for us to talk to Lawrence some more on our next ad hoc, our state board meeting that we have, and try to get more clarification and bring it back to the board. And then we can discuss, you know, what our options are as far as, you know, starting with the money we have, doing a bridge loan, or what have you. So, okay, I don't, on D, discussion vote claims and payouts, I don't think we have anything on that. 6, discussion vote on emergency repairs to Wolf Booster and Take Site. Where do we stand on that?
Unified came back around. They started back up again yesterday. They had all the piping that was being coated and all that stuff, and the new booster that the district had bought. Today they did a bunch of layout. They got the booster pump.
So they just started now this week.
Yeah, Monday.
Okay.
Yeah, they got up here. No, I take that back. Wednesday. Sorry, yesterday is when they came. That's when they were supposed to come from the last update we had. So they came, they brought all the stuff. They're getting it ready. Tomorrow they're going to be here again. They're going to disinfect the new lines going down the hill. They're going to hot tap so we could drain off one line that you have to drain in order to do tie-ins. They're going to take a back T. Assuming that the back T comes back good on Monday morning, and we're going to start doing or Monday afternoon, actually, because it won't come in until probably noon. Then we'll start working on doing the tie-ins to the new lines. I also have farm pump coming out for the startup on Monday. They'll be here at 2:00, so they can make sure that everything works right on the booster pump, so the warranty is in effect. So it's starting to move along quickly now.
Okay. Good. Okay. 7, discussion vote on Cal OSA Community Power Resiliency allocation to special district grant.
Tiffany, since that was your paperwork, you could start that one.
Okay, so I included a copy of the letter from Cal OES in the board packets. We were approved for the $288,000 for the grant for the generators. Johnny and I had a very brief phone call with Cal OES where we could ask questions about how that grant works and disbursement. So basically they give us the check up front, which should be coming any day now. We thought we'd get it by now, but not yet, but it should be coming at any time. We have until October 31st, 2021 to spend the money. It doesn't have to be installed or functioning necessarily, but we have to have spent it by October 31st. And then they're going to send us out a progress report, and that information needs to be filled in by November 30th, sent back to them. And that progress report will describe how we used the money, specifically what was spent, to make sure that what we used it on falls within their requirements. And at the end of this, if we do a good job, if we spend how we're supposed to, if we follow all their rules, they'll give us some type of grade. Like they'll, they're going to give us some type of grade. And if we do well and they're happy with us, it makes us eligible for more Cal OES grants in the future. If for some reason they're not so happy with us, it'll make future grants more difficult. But yeah, that's basically all the information I have.
So now there's 2 ways we could approach this. The easiest way would be just get an engineer to go ahead and engineer it and handle the bid process and all that stuff. But I want to save as much money as we can in order to get more generators that we need. So one thing the grant won't pay for is engineering. It won't pay for paying a electrical engineer to spec it out. It won't pay for the stuff like that. So the district's going to have to come out of pocket, pick somebody like P&J, but then if they spec'd it out, they wouldn't be able to bid on it, or shouldn't bid on it, according to Alan. So we would find somebody else like that, have them spec out each individual site, put it in a concise way so that the district can advertise the bid and do a closed bid and all that. And then whoever bids on it, then we'll figure out who's going to end up doing the rest of that the project, the purchasing the generators and the installations and all that stuff. So it's up to you guys which way you want to go with that. I've never did the advertising and all that kind of stuff, but I'm sure we could do it. But it's going to be up to you guys.
I'd like to get an idea what the cost would be for engineering. But I also know we have like so much going on. I almost would want to potentially go to another firm and not have D like spend time on that when we might not even do it. So I'm thinking maybe if we put that out to another a firm just to give us a quote on what the engineering would cost for that.
See, one of the suggestions was if if we do it that way, the engineer's still going to have to go to their electrical engineer to get that spec'd out because most engineers aren't electrical engineers. But if we went to somebody that could just spec it out, then when you put it out to bid, then you have electrical contractors like the one that did our office generator, and then they would bid the whole process. And then people like P&J could actually bid on it because it's going to be tying the power into the cabinets that they installed in 2012. So either
Now,
way,
are these going to be permanent permanent generators?
well,
Yes.
there's two thoughts on that. One is if we wanted to get more bang for the buck and it was easier for the San Joaquin Air Control Board to approve us, we could do trailer mounted. You spend more for the trailers, but you wouldn't spend as much for the hooking up the electrical and porting the pads. I would rather have stationary. But there's a little bit of hitch in this where before you purchase them, the air quality control people have to say, yes, you're going to be able to use those. So I spoke to them at depth. I got the applications. They said you have to do it beforehand, but most of the information they want won't be available until after we purchase the generators. So it's going to be kind of a complicated process. So once the things are spec'd out, then I could take it to them and say, look, these are the specs, although we'll fill out the application after we buy them because they want engine serial numbers and all kinds of information that you would never have just from going out to bid.
We put in the proposal as stationary.
Well, it's stationary and I think one towable for in between the well 5 and well 4. But what I'm saying is we do want to get the generators. They're approving the generators. I don't, from the list of what they will pay for, if we have clean energy generators, that's what we want. But either way, I mean, I'd rather have stationary, but then we can't just put a stationary generator there. We got to also fence it in so people don't steal it. We got to put the propane tanks. We want to put all that stuff there. Some of that stuff, if we like Tiffany said, if it wasn't operable yet, maybe we could leave some of that stuff out and then pay for it as the district gets more money or more funds. We could set the generator on the pad and have it ready to go and fenced in, and then add the propane, the fuel source, and hook it up to the cabinet at a later date. If we start running short on money, that would work as well.
I would think that they would want it's in order to get a decent grade on it, they would want to see them in operation.
Well, they told us that was not the case, but
Oh,
but that's, you know, that again, that's fine. I just want to expedite it as quick as we can, and you know, we could try to get another. Like I said, I'm not opposed to using an engineer, but they're going to do the same thing we're going to do, except for then they're going to put the markup on it. If we go outside out of house and we don't have D or somebody do it or somebody we know, they're going to do the same thing we're going to have to do, which is pay a third party to spec it out.
You know, what, if I could interject something here, Johnny, we can give you the name of the electrical engineering firm in Fresno that we've used for probably the last 10 or 20 years. And there's a couple of others around, and you could contract directly with them and talk with them. And I'm sure they could, you know, certainly accommodate, you know, a proposal to do that work. You know, and we don't have to be involved in that at all. Simply, you know, we'll give you the name we could even call them and tell them we're gonna call.
And I really like that idea, especially if they could put it out to bid in the correct manner and, get the work done, because we want to get it done right and we don't want to waste our money. But I just want to get the most that we can. Hopefully we can come out of this with at least 4 backup generators for the 4 sites that we need.
And when you say clean energy generators, is that
Yeah, like
propane?
propane. Yeah, and actually I found out that Tehachapi or somebody up there got a grant and they weren't sure where it came from, but I think it's the same one. And they put in diesel generators and it was still approved because of the new smog requirements that they have, the tier 4 smog requirements, but propane's even better, which is, and it's better for people not stealing fuel. It's harder to steal propane out of a tank than it is to steal diesel fuel. It's at a remote tank site.
Right.
So yeah, if you guys want me to do that, then Dee will give me the contact information. I'll reach out and get a quote from them or a proposal from them, and then I'll let you guys know at the next meeting if I got the information.
So you have
available.
a couple engineers that we can get quotes from? D? You got to unmute yourself.
Got one here in town that I'm not sure how busy he is, but we can check with him, and then the one in Fresno, which I highly recommend because they do that work quite often, and we have a good relationship with them. And I think, as far as quality, they're probably the best. That's why we use them. But anyhow, we'll get that information to you, and you can call them and we can even call them and tell them we're going to call. So no problem. I'll email it to you, Johnny.
Thank you.
Johnny?
Yeah.
Well, they'll require you guys will have to pay prevailing wage on this, right?
Yep. Prevailing wage and and all the requirements for the cost amount. I checked with Alan as soon as I got that letter.
Yeah.
So yeah, prevailing wage and all that.
But that's good. That's good money.
Well, which is why I wish that, and I think we probably could, but I wish we could just go out to bid pay to have the specs done and go out to bid for just the generators themselves and see how many generators we can get. And then with the remainder of the money, see about getting them installed or have the district pay for the installation, because the prevailing wage really costs a lot of money. A lot of the work the district could do slowly over time on our own, like pouring the pads and mounting the generator and stuff like that. But the prevailing wage really ups that price drastically. But we'll find out what the proposal is from the electrical engineer.
Cool.
I have a question. I missed it. The installation will be covered by the check that we're getting?
Yeah. Installation would be, as long as we don't exceed the $288,000.
Okay.
Just no engineering or any of the paperwork. They won't pay for it, but they'll actually pay for the generators and the installation.
Okay.
So is everybody okay with that? Having them get a couple bids from, and Dee giving the information so we could get the electrical engineers?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yes. It's not going to cost us anything.
Request for proposals, right?
Yeah, it's just proposals. Yeah. Okay, that sounds good. You okay, Director Schoenberg?
Yes.
Okay. All righty. Well, thank you, Tiffany. And
can we make
all
sure
the-
that we put that on the, so that if we need to vote or anything, that this carries over, for a few meetings on our regular meeting as well, so that once we have a proposal, we can move forward and try to decide what we want to do.
Well, as soon as I had the proposal, I would just add it to the agenda like I do everything else that needs to come up. But once I get it and I know it's going to go on there, Tiffany checks with me every Monday before the meeting to make sure there's nothing I want. And typically I always give her whatever it is a week in advance. So once I get it, then I'll be putting it on the agenda.
Okay. All righty. Number 8, that's awesome. Review and approve state update meeting minutes. I did read those. I didn't see anything. I'd entertain a motion that we approve the minutes. Did anybody else read them?
Yes, I read them. I didn't see anything on those minutes that needed to be, so, hold on. I find the date on them.
March 18th, 2021.
Um, minutes. 1 second. Okay, I'd like to move that we, hold on. Okay, wrong spot. Okay, I'd like to move that we approve the state update meeting minutes for Thursday, March 18th, 2021. With the possibility for additional amendments for typos or other errors that we may not have caught or that may need to be corrected.
Do I hear a second?
I'll
I'll
second it.
second that.
Director Gibson has seconded it. Roll call of directors. Director Garcia is absent. Director Gibson,
Aye.
Director Kelly,
Aye.
Director Nyman's and I, Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
401 absent, motion carried. Okay, did we want to just keep on going, I believe, or do we need to take a break?
Going.
Okay, looking at everything, we don't need anybody else. D. Jasper and Dave Warner and Carlos and Oscar, thank you all for being here tonight. You're welcome to stay, but you can sign off if you like, because we're done with all our business.
Thank you. Thank you, Rama.
Thanks.
All right, we'll be in touch.
Have a good evening.
Thank you. All right.
You need to
Number
note the
nine.
time.
No, because we went on to other stuff. We
went on to other stuff, and I didn't note it at the beginning. So,
okay.
number 9, discussion vote on invoices for bookkeeping services for January and February 2021. We received an email. I don't know if everybody read it. Do you want me to read? Do you want me to read the email? From Linda Shelton.
I read
Yes.
it.
Do you
Yes,
want
it
me
needs to be read into for the minute.
Yeah, okay. 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 This email was Tuesday, March 23rd, 2021. It was from Linda Shelton. Hi, Tiffany. This is very upsetting, and to tell you the truth, shocking. I would have thought that they would have appreciated that I stayed longer than I should have, so they would not be left hanging without a good replacement. I gave the board 2 weeks notice that I would be leaving and moving to Nevada November 1st, 2020, due to my husband's severe health condition. Because they were not able to find someone to replace me, I continued to help them for 4 extra months at extra costs and time, additional 14 hours each month for round trip travel alone. I also did not charge them for the mileage. I did not charge them except extra for this because our agreement was that I would receive a flat fee of $1,000 per month. I did all the work for the extra 4 months of November through 2020 through February 2021. I also helped train Linda Wilkie. Linda was able to handle the February board meetings that I was not able to virtually attend due to my mother-in-law's death and then her burial, which was in the San Francisco Bay Area. I did all of this because I cared about them, FPPUD, and the community. As I said, I did not want to leave them hanging and gave them opportunity to find the right person rather than to hire someone out of desperation. Please let them know that I will try to be at the meeting, but cannot guarantee it as Mike has been having some issues and may be back in the hospital. We will learn late Thursday if he has to back in or not. I do not know if he will get back from this heart doctor in Utah in time for the meeting. Please send my payment of $1,000 to 1419, well, to the address. Respectfully, Linda Shelton.
The
So,
only thing I'd like to comment on that is she wasn't coming back all them hours just for us. Every time she came back, they were doing doctor's appointments, visiting her son, and also working with her other customers that she has here in town. She did come to do work, but it wasn't solely for our benefit.
I'd like to move, and we can discuss things if I get a second. I'd like to move that we go ahead and just pay the February invoice, and I'd also like to include in that we pay the extra amount that we had agreed upon to Linda Wilkie for the work that she did.
do I hear a second? Then we can
I
have
don't think
this-
we should pay her.
And I think they should be broken out into two motions.
Well, then there's no seconder, so it dies.
I think the decision is not whether we pay her, because we have to pay her something for the meeting she was there, but the way it works is it's broken up to $1,000 a month. So if she attended one meeting, that would be half of $1,000, not the full $1,000 when she didn't even come for the second meeting of the month.
Okay, so no one's gonna second my motion, so it's going to die, correct?
Correct.
Well, I don't, in the discussion, what I would say, what I say about Linda Shelton is that she lied to us several times about the 1099s. I realize people are upset about it. And then which got us in trouble with the IRS because she didn't get us the 1099s when by law she was supposed to get them to us.
We still haven't gotten the mailed ones.
And I agree. I totally agree. We haven't gotten the mail ones. We finally, after going round and round with her, we got emailed ones. Emailed ones. And so I think that I know people think that we shouldn't pay her. And I kind of agree with that, but at the same time, I'm not sure that we want to get into possible litigation for $500. I mean,
It costs us more than that easily in litigation.
And that's my only point, is that the fact that, because I wasn't very happy with the training that she gave Linda Wilkie. She wasn't there that much, and she really, in the beginning, it wasn't her fault because there was the health scare and stuff, and we had to wait on that. I think in January, but I know she did come out in February, but she really didn't spend that much time. And but at the same time, I think maybe we should just be done with it and go ahead and send $1,000 and be done with it. I realize people are angry about it, and and the board members are upset about her performance and what she has done and how she's lied to us on several occasions. So I don't know what people, so it's up to the board what they want to do on this. But
I tried making a motion. Do you want me to try that motion again?
well, I want other people to put in some input if they want to put in some input.
you really should do it as a motion.
Well, why don't you do the separate motion, like Director Gibson said, deal with Linda Shelton and then we can.
I don't feel like it should be a separate motion. Well, fine. Okay, I move that we pay Linda Sheldon the $1,000 for February.
Do I hear a second?
I'm sorry, I cannot second that.
I tell you what, I'm having a hard time seconding it, but yeah, it's true. We don't want litigation for $500. But just paying her on the merit, well, I will second it because I would like to avoid litigation.
Okay, Director Gibson has seconded. Is there any further discussion on this?
Yes, you know what? Since I seconded it, sorry, Lisa, you can go ahead and combine them. I know, listen, it's difficult for me. I'm genuinely angry and not about the 1099s.
Okay, I am going to take that as a friendly amendment, and I'm going to reword the motion. So once again, I move that we pay our previous bookkeeper, Linda Sheldon, $1,000 as is in her contract for February 2021, and then we pay Linda Wilkie, our new bookkeeper, for the work that she did in January of 2021, which would be
Which is how much? $400?
$500.
$500. Okay. Do I hear that second?
Yes,
Director
I will
Gibson?
second that. Yeah, I accepted
Okay,
that friendly amendment. No.
Okay, it's been accepted. Do we have any further discussion before I do the roll call of the votes?
Yeah, I'd like to say a couple of things. Like, I just wanted to pay her on what she had done for the month of February. And she wanted to mention, all this stuff that she did when she gave us only 2 weeks notice for a bookkeeper, which I felt was kind of short. And then shouldn't you have to train your replacement? Isn't that part of having a job? And my other problem is, yes, we paid her $1,000 a month, and it was a flat rate. And we have let her not come to meetings for several health issues and for a trip to Europe. So there are things that we have bent over too. So I just needed to say my piece. But yes, I would like to avoid having this go further.
Okay, Director Kelly, do you have any comments?
No, I don't.
Okay, roll call of directors. Director Gibson. Director
Aye.
Garcia is absent. Director Gibson's and I. Director Kelly.
I'm a no.
Okay. Director Nyman's and I. Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Okay. So 3, 1 no, and 1 absent. Motion carried. So I believe, okay, so then we'll go on to 10, discussion vote on accounts payable and financial information. Linda. And next time we can move this up for you, Linda. I'm sorry we didn't do that earlier.
Well, thank you. That's okay, because I'm learning about everything that's going on, so that I can do a better job. So I'm learning terminology and about the grants that are coming and about the, and so I have some questions, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Should I talk about the financial part first? I did
Yeah.
do a check detail, the first two items on that report. I don't know why it's there, but that was on the last report. So we start with check number 14594. And we only had about 6 checks, I believe that is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 checks. It came to the amount of $4,613.80. And the last check was $54 for the California Bank and Trust, which the last time I wrote a check for them was last board meeting, and it had been underpaid by $54. So I included it in this one.
Yeah.
And I did include a copy of the paperwork on that. Did you get that, Brahma?
Yes, I have all that paperwork. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, great. So I'm hoping that all the checks were okay this time.
The only comment I had was the coastline. We're going to have to cut another check, but I'm mailing out the check that we do have. We cut a check for $2805.46, and that was for one invoice.
Right.
There was actually there was attached to it was a separate invoice for $315 that wasn't included in that. So the 2805 was one invoice, and there was an additional invoice that was stapled all together. So I think you missed the invoice. So anyways, so I'm gonna put that. You'll have that invoice, so we'll have to cut a check for that. But other than that,
just for the record, that's invoice 780440, also invoiced on 3/9/21 for $315 for labor on the backhoe.
Oh, 78440. That's what they were all. They were all that number.
no, they weren't.
I had a different number. I had
I have the paperwork right here. The invoice.
Okay, I'm just doing it by memory. I don't have it.
Yeah. The invoice that we paid the $2,800 on is 780445. So
5. Okay, I see it.
Yeah. So anyways, also just a comment, just in general for your information that what's helpful for us on the California Bank and Trust, when we do those invoices, when you put in the what's it called, the comment section on the check.
Yes.
If you could just, in the memo, yeah, thank you. In the memo, if you could just put the last 4 digits of that card number on each one as a reference, that just makes it easier when we go to the bank, and they know which account to apply it to, because I have to give them the numbers, but it helps us not to mix those checks up too. So anyway, so that's it. So with that, before you ask any questions, I would entertain a motion that we pay our bills.
I have a question. What's that Debbie Star thing for?
Oh, Debbie Star, that was a
refund.
It was a refund for unclaimed funds. So that was an account that was had a credit on it, and she was no longer at the address, so it's a refund to that customer.
I thought we were all done with that, but was that just one that we didn't catch?
Tiffany? I thought we were done too.
Yeah, Tiffany anticipates that's the last one there was going to be filed for.
Yeah, that was the last one. What happened was we did the newspaper ad for any accounts that were 3 years or older in accordance with the government code. At that time, this particular account was only at 2.5 years. So we just had to let that hit the 3-year mark. And then instead of doing an ad, we went ahead and contacted them to let them know, and they filled out the form. So it's good.
Okay.
Okay, so with
So
that,
are we going to be having this every year?
No,
No.
that was it. It's to fix a mistake from past front desk employees.
Well, yeah, because what happens a lot of times is say somebody pays their bill or they overpay their bill, then they sell their house and they move away, well, and they don't get their money back. It sits in that account. Well, now we're gonna have a system where we refund the money when we close out that account. So there'll still be checks in the future, but just not the same type where they file a claim to get it.
yeah, it's only if they've overpaid their account.
Yeah, and a lot of people do. A lot of people pay like $400 at a time or $500 at a time.
So,
Oh, because on the bill it tells you not to do that.
Well, we don't have a problem with them doing it because then we don't have late fees and we don't have if they want to give us their money early, we're happy about that. And typically it's never a problem. It's never a problem. It just so happens because of this law, we had to refund some money.
and when do people ever follow the rules completely?
Can I just ask one other question, Johnny?
Sure.
The stickers for the vehicle, that was like our new vehicle from Mountaintop Graphics. Is that?
Well, it's also to replace the stickers that were on the side of the truck that had to be fixed, and also to change it from supervisor to lead operator.
Okay, the reason I was asking is I'm just wasn't sure if it should go under vehicle maintenance, but I guess if we're changing out something, it's only $85. I just wasn't sure that was the right category for it.
Yeah, that's what it was. So, yeah, just updating the vehicles.
Okay, if there's no other,
I'd like to move that we pay our bills with the addition of the extra bill that needs to be, the invoice needs to be paid for Coastline Equipment, Inc.
I'll second it.
okay, Director Gibson is second, and I'm sorry. Director Garcia is absent.
It wasn't funny. Come on.
Director Gibson.
Aye.
Director Kelling.
Aye.
Director Nyman's and I. Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Motion carried 4-0-1 absent. And then Linda, you can submit, an invoice for the 500 and put that with the next billing or whatever.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
All right. And did you have
I
any other,
appreciate
do you have any other
I do.
questions?
Now, Lisa, I gave you I think I emailed you today. For some reason, I can't get into the banks, and I tried to call them, and of course, they won't talk to me. They only talk to a signer. So if you had a moment to call them back and get me reset up, I would appreciate that so that I could start.
You don't need to call them. I do that. So you
Right,
should call
yeah.
me. So you just couldn't get in because you forgot your password or something?
No, I don't know why I couldn't get in. I used my password. I got in on the last month, and I don't know what happened. I don't think I changed my password, but so now I think I timed myself out also.
Right.
So
once you time yourself out, then yeah, I need to call.
Yeah. So I would appreciate it when you had a moment. Of course, I'm not going to be back until Monday, so give me a call or text me and let me know if you need anything from me on that.
Okay. By then I can most likely just reset your password. So I think I'm gonna reset the password again.
Okay.
Because it should time out and allow me to do that, I believe. If not, I'll call them. And then I have to reset the password anyway. Once you call them, you have to reset it anyway. So
Okay.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
All righty.
Okay, so the other thing is, I was noticing in the meeting that you are going to get some money, like 288,000 or something like that, for Cal OSE grant, I think it was called. And
OES, yeah,
OES, OES. Okay.
yeah. It's Office of Emergency
Okay.
Services.
Oh, okay. So when that money
Are we
comes in,
gonna,
so that's for. Go ahead.
go ahead, Linda, I'm sorry.
So when that money comes in, what I would like to do is be able to, you know, not go back to fix anything on the general ledger, but to move forward with the new items that are coming in. Because if there's not been any expenditures, you haven't received this grant yet, there's been no expenditures on this grant, this is a good time to start listing this as a grant and listing the expenses that are supposed to be applied to it underneath that grant. So what I would like to do is to do a class of Cal OES grant. Okay, and so when the expenses come in, Johnny can let me know that that is for this grant and what kind of an expense it is if it's not obvious. And then I can apply that expense to that grant. And so as the rules that I heard that they had, they want everything to be, just right. And they want to know how you spent the money and on the financial, so I can print out a financial report just for that grant with the expenditures under it.
Yeah, and it would have to
Okay.
be only, and it would have to be only the expenditures under it, unless there's a way to code it. So the costs that are associated with it, but not reimbursable, we'd want to be able to separate those out, wouldn't we, Lisa?
Yeah.
Yeah, like engineering.
Right. And those will be separated. Those will be separated. So under this grant, it'll show everything that was paid for that. And for instance, it'll have indirect expenses and direct expenses, and the indirect expenses are not allowable. Okay, so it'll be right there on the financial statement, beautiful. And I would be very happy because right now I can hardly find anything on the general ledger. So I would be very happy if we could start that with the new items that are coming up. So we can start from grant.
That would allow us, Linda, on the book asset detail to break, instead of the auditors just calling something a grant, we'd be able to list the generators separately,
right?
All of that separately, so that if we needed to replace them at a later point, it wouldn't be as this lump grant that's getting depreciated, but it would be as each individual thing.
That would be awesome.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. That would.
And so also I know that the LOW project is coming up. I don't know, if that's started yet or if there's any expenditures that has been for that yet. But when that money comes in, I'd like to do the same thing because it's, it's a brand new item coming up, and this is where we can start doing it correctly. And
yeah, that you won't be able to do on this pass. It would be when we have the construction. So right now we have been paying claims out and paying out on.
Okay, so
Because they're in a separate account.
Yeah. The
construction. Oh, you have they're a separate checking account.
Yeah, the current planning funds when they come in and when they go out, when we pay out, we have an account for that, and we pay out of that. We transfer money in and deposit money there, and we pay out of that account.
Right, but again,
where the expenses go everywhere, right?
Right, and again,
and they should be going to that project. They should be going to the LOW project.
Correct.
And they're not.
Right.
Right. So
but right now, I don't think you're necessarily going to be able to change that. But what I'm saying is that when we get to the construction phase, of that, not only will we be switching the actual checking account again, but you should be able to restart that with all of the various expenses. And that's
Okay,
where it's going to be really important, because that's where we're going to be purchasing actual wells and purchasing boosters and purchasing pipeline and all of that stuff. And I would like to see all that get broken out. But right now it's
Yeah.
it's really just for these test wells, and I think it's already started and it's going to be too difficult to do it that way.
I would entertain a motion that we
I
continue the
move that
meeting.
we continue until we finish business.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Director Kelling, second that. Roll call of directors. Director Garcia is absent. Director Gibson,
Aye.
Director Kelling,
Aye.
Director Nyman's an aye. Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Motion carried 401. It is 8:57 in the evening. Okay. All righty. I'm not sure who has Linda's check. I know I returned it to the office.
I have
So
it.
you have it? Okay, so you can go ahead and mail that check out to her.
Okay, and I have one question probably for Director Schoenberg.
Yes.
Okay.
When the check comes in for $288,000, what account should we deposit that into?
That's a good question. Probably it's should be going into the I don't know if that's a short-lived asset. I need to ask what generators are considered, but probably the SLA account.
Okay, I'll confirm it with you when it comes in.
Okay. All right, moving on to 11, discussion vote on book asset detail. Nothing's happened on that. So on to new business. 12, discussion vote on quotes for purchase of the mini excavator.
Okay, you guys directed me to get quotes, so I did. The Caterpillar came in at $80,391.90. The John Deere came in at $75,995.21. So it's a difference of $4,396.69. It's up to you guys which one. The Caterpillar, after I did the research, is a stronger. It has stronger power and better digging efforts than John Deere does. But it's up to you guys which one you want to pick. If at all.
But nothing runs like a deer.
Yeah, that's true too. But the reason I was swaying towards Cat was because we've been having issues with their interim Tier 4 smog stuff on the loader that we got for free.
Oh.
Not major, but I mean enough to where it's cost us, several times of John Deere coming up here to work on it. So the Caterpillar is supposed to have a better figured out Tier 4 compliance, whether that's true or not, but that's the research that I've gathered over the last couple of weeks. I'm trying to look at the maintenance cost after we get it too, because we got the free loader and the free generator, and then the maintenance cost on it after are still painful.
And so if something goes wrong with it, like the first year, does Caterpillar come up here for free?
Yeah, well, both of them have warranties of, I'd have to look at the quote itself, but they have a warranty of a year and a certain amount of hours, which we would not exceed because we don't use it.
Standard warranty on the Cat is 24 months, 2,000 hours full machine. Extended, if you get extended coverage, it's 60 months, 25-hour premium, but it doesn't say how much it costs for that.
Yeah, so it's got a good warranty, and if they didn't pay to come up here to fix it, we have that trailer so we could tow it down there and drop it off at Caterpillar too to save the road charge. But
Well, should we put the money out for the Caterpillar?
Well, I think we need to put the money out for the Caterpillar. It's just, the question is, so you're saying that the cat, you think is better, works
Yeah,
better?
it's the industry standard to go to. It's also it's the two dealers have two different ways of sizing their equipment. So trying to compare a 50 with a 300 E2 is pretty difficult, but the power of the Cat is greater than the John Deere. And since we're going to try to take up as much workload as we can from the backhoe, the more power would be helpful.
Makes sense.
And quicker, and save more time on digging. And one thing I didn't point out, both of these quotes have 3 different buckets that we could change out for when we're potholing or we're scooping out mud or whatever. So they both have the same amount of buckets too. And so I think, and the Caterpillar also has a function where you could actually flip over the bucket, which the John Deere can't, and you could actually dig up underneath the pipe, kind of like a spoon, which we've never been able to do before. So it'll help with leaks, and just all around it will be beneficial.
Okay, Director Schoenberg, you have any questions?
Yeah, I'm in favor of the Caterpillar. The only thing is, normally I would want to pay this out of like the pipeline fund, because it's going to be used a lot for potholing and the different, and replacing pipe and stuff, but we don't have enough money in that fund. But I think I would like to, I need to see if we have a issue taking it out of the SLA fund, but I think we should take it out of one of the funds that we have rather than straight out of the operating.
Right. Well, I don't think, what would be the issue taking that? It's a short-lived asset. It's not, I mean, it's not a long-term
Right.
asset. So I
Yeah,
don't see.
I think it's probably fine.
Okay, so you have any questions or concerns, Director Kelly?
I don't believe that has a checking account associated with it, so we would take it out of operating. We would just reimburse the revenue.
Right. And do we have enough? Go ahead.
Whichever Johnny feels is best.
I mean, with his experience, I mean, it sounds like the Cat would be better. I personally,
thank you guys for the vote of confidence.
I trust Johnny's judgment on this, so I would entertain a motion that we approve getting the excavator from the Cat, not from John Deere. If somebody wants to make a motion.
I will make a motion that we get the Caterpillar excavator
In the amount of $80,391.90.
Which comes from one of our reserves rather than straight out of the revenue. I mean, it's reimbursed to the revenue. I'd add that friendly amendment.
I accept it.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, Director Schoenberg has seconded it. Roll call of directors. Director Garcia is absent. Director Gibson.
Aye.
Director Kelling.
Aye.
Director Nyman's and I. Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. 401 absent. Okay, moving on to review and approve meeting minutes for February 11th, 2021.
Okay, I'd like to move, well, unless anybody else, I found one error on page 5 at the top, on A, under update on state grant application. It's kind of a weird, dumb thing, but it says that document along with the CEQA environmental package were uploaded. If it said those documents, it would be were, but that document would be a was. Right?
Yeah, I didn't see that one, but you're right.
Yep.
Okay, did you see something else?
Well, I saw something on page 6, but it was just a capitalization at the bottom of the page. And maybe it doesn't need to be capitalized, but does communication site lease agreement need to be capitalized?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think it does.
Oh, okay.
Because it's talking about a specific document. It's called the communication site lease agreement, right, Tiffany?
Well, I'm not an English major, so.
I believe so, but I'll double check. If the names match, I'll capitalize it.
Okay.
Thank you,
Okay.
Tiffany.
So did anybody else find anything? If not, I'm gonna make a motion.
Go ahead and make a motion.
Okay, I'd move that we approve the regular meeting minutes for Thursday, February 11th, 2021, with the amendments mentioned and with the possibility for additional amendments for typos or other errors that we may not have caught or that may need to be corrected.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Director Gibson has seconded it. Roll call directors. Director Garcia is absent. Director Gibson,
Aye.
Director Kelling,
Aye.
Director Nyman's an aye. Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Motion carried 4-0, 1 absent. Okay, review and approve minutes for February 25th, 2021.
Did anybody find anything? If not, I want to make a motion.
I didn't.
Yeah, I found a couple things, but I'm not sure if they're mistakes or if I was just tired when I was reading it. But on number 7, the last sentence, the application would be turned in conjunction. That we should have 2 ins there, right?
Yeah, I sort of had a problem with it, but it is correct. The application would be turned in conjunction with the, yeah, I know, it's weird, but it's correct.
Okay, so that's all I had.
Unless Tiffany wants to fix it because it's just weird.
Would a comment?
I mean, when I read it now, it makes sense.
Yeah, the comma might help. The application would,
No problem.
or just say something like the application would be turned into wherever it's being turned into in conjunction with the regional construction application. Or
Okay.
something, yeah, just. Anybody else find anything? Okay, I'd like to move that we approve the regular planning meeting minutes for Thursday, February 25th, 2021, with the amendment mentioned and with the possibility for additional amendments for typos or other errors that we may not have caught or that may need to be corrected.
Do I hear a
I'll
second?
second it.
Director Gibson has seconded it. Roll call directors. Director Garcia is absent. Director Gibson,
Aye.
Director Kelling,
Aye.
Director Nyman's an aye. Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried 4-0, 1 absent. Okay, on the 14, discussion vote on future agenda items.
And I think, like, I know Johnny was saying he would add like the Cal OES, but I think it could just stay exactly the way it is. Discussion vote update on Cal OES community power resiliency allocation, because we're going to be discussing it numerous times on, you know, what we need to do.
Yeah, that's fine too.
All right.
I just have a couple things to make you aware of. So next month, we'll be starting to approve the special assessments because I have to confirm the accounts right at the beginning of May. And just to let the board know, you may want to be thinking about whether or not we want to turn in accounts that are over 6 months past due into the county for collections. Don't answer now, just something to think about. It'll be on the agenda. We may see the agreement with the Chamber of Commerce back on there. Just a heads up.
Can I ask you before you move on? Can I ask on the monies that we got to take care of the past dues that were over 3 months? There's still some left? No, because we put them all in, correct?
The monies were all applied, but there's a couple situations. One is we could be back up to 6 months since it was applied as of February. 2 accounts that were very past due that had balances. Self-help only covered up to 500. So if they had balances above 500, they weren't all covered.
Which a lot did, yeah.
So I'll have a list for you next month's
I
meeting as to what that will actually look like.
Yeah, I think we would need that information if we were going to vote on something.
Yeah, I'll have that for you.
Awesome. Thank you, Tiffany. Sorry to interrupt you. Bye.
And don't forget to complete your sexual harassment and ethics training and turn in your Form 700s. I had to nag, sorry.
I did mine a long time ago.
I may need another copy of just the cover page for the 700.
Okay.
I need to find that. It's here somewhere, but I don't need the whole thing. I'm only eligible for the cover page anyway, so.
Okay.
Okay, if there's nothing else, I would enter number 15, adjournment. I would entertain a motion that we adjourn.
I will make a motion that we adjourn.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, Director Kelly gets seconded. Roll call of directors. Director Garcia is absent. Director Gibson,
Aye.
Director Cowling,
Aye.
Director Nyman's and I, Director Schoenberg.
Aye.
Motion carried 401. We are adjourned at 9:14 p.m. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
There's no large checks, correct? So you're not bringing anything?
Thank you guys too.
No, there isn't. You know, no. So thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.